Welcome everyone to the 2025 Léargas Gathering, our annual cross-sectoral event that celebrates the transformative impact of Erasmus+, the European Solidarity Corps, and other European initiatives. My name is Terry Cole, and I'm the head of Strategic Engagement and Communications at Léargas. I'm absolutely delighted to be your host for this year's online event. Today, you can expect to hear inspiring project stories, expert insights, and practical advice to help you take your next steps into European funding opportunities. Before we get started, let's begin with some housekeeping. Today's event is taking place in Zoom webinar format, with your cameras and sound switched off. But that doesn't mean you don't have the chance to engage. Please make use of the chat box, add any questions you have, or let us know if you experience any technical issues. Our moderators will be here to support you. Following this morning's festivities, we'll follow up with an event pack of all the resources and information mentioned today. We'll also be collecting any questions raised or tips shared in the chat to circulate responses with everyone. Now, we'll start our morning off with some welcoming remarks. Then next, you'll meet some of our program beneficiaries who will share the incredible skills they've developed through their projects. We'll then move into breakout rooms. When you registered, you selected one of 3 breakout rooms. The first, Newcomers to EU programs and funding within the education and training sector. The second, Newcomers to European programs and funding within the youth, sport, and volunteering sector. And the third is for existing participants in the Erasmus+ and European Solidarity Corps programs. Finally, we'll all return to the main stage to discuss the opportunities within Erasmus+ that can help your organization plan for long-term strategic goals. We've got a packed morning ahead, so let's get started. I'd like to welcome our keynote speaker, Tammy Donaghy, a former participant in the European Solidarity Corps and our Erasmus+ youth mobilities. Following Tammy, we'll hear from Dr. John P. Gilmore, the chair of Léargas' Board of Management, and Lorraine Gilligan, our executive director.
Hello, my name is Tammy Donaghy and I am glad to welcome you to the Gathering 2025. I'm a mental health advocate and a youth worker. I come from Finglas and the area I come from is one of many socio-economic disadvantages. I am a member of the Board of Directors for Jigsaw, the National Youth Mental Health Organisation. I'm also a member of the Mental Health Commission. I was appointed to the Commission by the Minister for Mental Health. I use my lived experiences on a board basis to bring in the voices of people who are generally excluded from spaces like that. Young people like me who grow up in areas of socio-economic disadvantage often experience intergenerational poverty, criminality and poor health issues. For me, growing up as a young person was quite difficult. I was very unwell and I really struggled in a school setting. I rejoined my youth project when I was 16 years old. I had really poor school attendance and had left school, but somehow found the youth service and absolutely grew and thrived. I loved being in the youth centre. I found my people, I found adults who I could trust. Growing up in care means that you're exposed to many different professionals, and for me, I didn't have very good relationships with social workers. It was a roundabout and I never let myself get close enough to an adult. When I came into youth work, that story completely changed. I found adults who cared about me and who I trusted. I don't know if many people are aware of Jigsaw's concept of the one good adult. One good adult is somebody who is in a young person's life who they can confide in and who can help them along their journey. But when I came to youth work, I found my one good adult, and that allowed me to grow and thrive as a young person. When I was under 18, I took part in a youth exchange where we went down to Killary, and it was one of the best things I could have done for myself socially. I learned to engage with other young people from other cultures, and I grew and I thrived. From then on, I made the decision to go back to school, to do my Leaving Cert, even if I'd done it all on the lowest levels I could. And I went on to study in college, all because of a one good adult, because of my youth workers in the Finglas Youth Resource Centre. When I turned 18, I decided to go on an ESC short-term project, and that really threw me out of my comfort zone. For young people like me from areas like Finglas, there's not really much opportunities to go on a plane or go away full stop. So for me to have the independence to go away and to live with other young people from other countries was something that shifted the whole narrative for me. I began to thrive and I really enjoyed being on my project. I came home and I got stuck into studying and I started my degree. I have a master's degree in comparative criminology and criminal justice. I have a degree in youth work and I also have level 5s and certs in different topics. I believe education is key for young people. I'm a lifelong learner. It's funny that I say that because I was someone who dropped out of school and didn't plan on doing the leaving cert. You see, I was really sick in my teenage years and I hadn't committed to a future. When I got to third level education, things changed for me and I learned that I love learning when it's something that I'm interested in. See, learning is different for everybody. People all learn in different ways. I certainly do. I'm a natural communicator, so for me sitting in a classroom and not being able to speak is really, really hard. When I was able to sit down and learn in a way that suited me, things began to change. I'm now happy to say that I am a youth worker in the Finglas Youth Resource Centre, the place that changed my life. And from my experiences as a young person, on the many different exchanges that I went on and on the ESC programme, I now help to support and mentor young people going on their journeys, and that holds a very special place in my heart. I believe that youth work and European work provides that space for young people to get a one good adult. That's really important. Every young person deserves to engage with European work. As a professional, we don't want to not give opportunities to young people because it puts more on our plate. We're paid to do a job and we should try our best to expand our services and help young people, whether that's through schools, through youth work, or through any other means if you work with a young person. The great Dr. Seuss once said, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better." It's not. That's the truth of it. Unless you care and unless you want to work to help people engage and get opportunities, the work may not change. So it's up to us as professionals, as funders, as boards, as lobbyists, as youth workers, as one good adults, to help young people, to support young people and to create a change for people, especially in a European context.
Thank you, Tammy, for those words. It is an honour to have you open our event today. As Chair of the Board of Léargas, it is with great pleasure and pride that I welcome you to the gathering. It is a privilege to reflect on Léargas' achievements over the past year. Our 2024 annual report detailed a year of steady growth, strong partnerships, and meaningful engagement with the people and communities we work with. In 2024 alone, Léargas supported 375 projects, 343 Erasmus+, and 32 European Solidarity Corps projects. We awarded over 29.7 million in funding and reached more than 12,800 participants. Most notably, the number of participants with fewer opportunities grew by over 700%, a testament to the organisation's work on inclusion and access. Importantly, the work of Léargas remains aligned with both national and European priorities. From support projects like the microgrant schemes to educational resources like the Transversal Skills Toolkit, the organisation's role in promoting inclusion skills, digital transformation and democratic participation reflect key national strategies, as well as the objectives of Erasmus+ and the European Solidarity Corps. Léargas actively contributes to policy development and stakeholder engagement with the aim to strengthen Ireland's connection to Europe and to shared European values. Not only was 2024 a year of impact and achievement for Léargas, but it also brought our previous strategic period from 2022 to 2024 to a close. In May of this year, we launched our new strategic statement that will carry our vision and mission forward from 2025 to 2030. Our new strategic pillars are represented on this wheel. The Ignite pillar outlines how we will drive excellence in programme delivery and broaden awareness of European opportunities. The Inclusion pillar commits to making these opportunities accessible to all, particularly those who face barriers to participation. The Impact pillar centres on capturing and amplifying the impact of these programmes, something we hope that the inputs of today's events will serve to do as well. And the Innovation pillar ensures that Léargas remains agile, future-ready and responsive leveraging digital tools, supporting sustainability, and building capacity across its work. These pillars focus our expertise and ambition on delivering on our vision of a future where intercultural learning and meaningful connections across Europe and Ireland unlock potential and inspire positive change for individuals and communities. The closing of our previous strategic period and the development of this new strategy has been stewarded by Léargas' Executive Director, Lorraine Gilligan, who is retiring this year. After nearly 30 years at Léargas, including 5 leading the organisation, Lorraine's vision and commitment have shaped Léargas profoundly. She's been a dedicated champion of Léargas' mission, and her leadership in this translational period has laid the foundations for Léargas to reach new heights, continuing to deepen our impact, foster innovation, and ensure that European opportunities are open to all. It is with great gratitude that I now hand over to Lorraine to say a few words at our final Léargas gathering.
Thank you, John, for your really kind words, and good morning to everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's a joy to welcome you all to the gathering for 2025, a celebration of the transformative impact of European programmes, and it's always a really special event. For me, this year's gathering carries a little extra meaning as I retire at the end of this year, and it's the last time I'll have the privilege of speaking as its Executive Director for Léargas. Since our last gathering, Léargas has come to the end of one strategic cycle and into the beginning of another. Our strategic statement, 2025 to 2030, sets out comprehensive and purposeful plans to meet the challenges and the opportunities of our world today. European programmes are expanding in ambition, scope and expectations, and as we look towards Ireland's presidency of the Council of the European Union next year and the shaping of the new multi-annual financial framework and the EU budget for 2028, the policy and the programme landscape is ever evolving. And at the same time, the needs of our partners are shifting. Barriers to participation in European programmes persist, rapid digital transformation demands really new approaches, and environmental and geopolitical uncertainties continue to test our resilience. So for our beneficiaries, we're navigating all of this while we continue to do vital community-based work. And it's in this context that Léargas' new strategic direction was developed. Léargas is an expert partner and an advocate for European programmes and exchange, providing unique insights into the European Commission and the Irish Government to further their policy objectives and to recognise the value of EU programmes. Our new strategic direction positions us really well to represent the values of European programmes and to inform policy and to support beneficiaries across an expanding and more complex programme environment. This new strategy, I think, helps and aims to future-proof Léargas' work by embracing new technologies, by fostering collaboration, and by embedding sustainability into our operations, which I think ensures that we remain an agile, impactful and aligned organisation with the evolving needs of individual organisations, people and communities at heart. So while 2024 was a really excellent year for increased engagement from our participants, especially those with fewer opportunities, as John highlighted in his remarks, the new strategy really acknowledges the importance of continued outreach and support, which is required in order to sustain and grow engagement from underrepresented communities that we want to work with. This strategy also anticipates new developments across Europe, like the proposed Union of Skills, with deeper cooperation in lifelong learning and the ongoing need to support civic engagement and solidarity in really uncertain times. The skills nurtured through Léargas' programmes and initiatives promote effective communication, adaptability, cultural awareness, teamwork, problem solving and leadership, among others. And these are really essential for us to build a connective, inclusive and a resilient society. We know that when people take part in Erasmus Plus or the European Solidarity Corps, it doesn't just benefit how they learn or teach or volunteer, but really it impacts how they see themselves and the world around them. So we're aiming that this strategy will help us to strengthen the organisation's capacity to respond proactively to emerging opportunities and challenges, and that by doing this, we're laying down the groundwork for a transformative impact that you and your participants and your projects make. Our strategy is not just a document. To us, it's a commitment to the proven impact and the even greater possibilities of European programmes. It builds on decades of experience, it's forward-thinking, it's values-driven, and it's rooted in the belief that international collaboration has never mattered more. I'm delighted to have played a small part in this new phase of Léargas' work, and I'm excited to see where Léargas goes next, driven by a new strategy, with new ideas and new leadership. And as we look ahead to milestones like Ireland's EU presidency in 2026 and 40 years of Léargas, I know that this organisation will continue to thrive. Each year, the gathering reminds us of the power of European programmes, of the impact that programmes like Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps and our other initiatives have on people, on organisations and on communities. So as we begin to deliver on our new strategic statement, we do so with a renewed sense of purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, John and Lorraine, for those inspiring words, reminding us of the many milestones and achievements along the way. We are genuinely excited to see what the future holds as Léargas implements its new strategic statement until 2030. A special thank you as well to Tammy for sharing her personal experience with such openness and warmth. Her story of hope and resilience sets a meaningful tone for today's discussions. One theme that came through in all three opening remarks was the importance of skills. We often use that word, but what we really mean are the qualities that help people connect, adapt, lead, and grow. Communication, teamwork, resilience, problem-solving, leadership, sometimes called soft skills, but in truth, they're anything but soft. They're essential. The European Union has recognized this too, with initiatives like the Union of Skills, which aims to make these abilities more visible, valued, and transferable across different areas of life. And this is where programs like Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps play such a powerful role. They create the opportunities and environments where these abilities can be discovered and developed, whether that's a young person building confidence through volunteering, an educator learning new approaches abroad, or a community organization finding new ways to work together. These experiences don't just build professional competencies, they help shape people who can thrive in changing times and contribute to stronger, more connected communities. Now, I'm very excited to have you hear directly from some of these participants about the impact of their own journeys.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm currently studying in Blackrock Further Education Institute. I'm doing salon management at the moment, but last year I studied makeup artistry. I have my full iTech qualifications in many different broad ranges of makeup. So I have regular makeup, special effects, lash and brow treatments, facial, massage, and then also the retail side of makeup, which is really cool. Being able to study at a college that offers all this and especially offers it in such a short time span is amazing. I met some of my best friends here. I met the most amazing teachers and I had such a ball, which was amazing. I went on my Erasmus Plus programme to Tenerife. I was working over there as a makeup artist and a costume design. Every day I would go down to the arena and I would create some costumes, and the artists there and the designers there were so helpful and they were so amazing. The creativity was just amazing. Like, it was actually, the colours were just amazing. As a makeup artist, you would see a lot of that stuff, but not to that extent, I think. I was also then working like at the arena, so I would do the makeup on around 200 plus people like per day, which was hefty, but we were well able for it. So living there for I was staying there for around 3 weeks. So living there for the first week or so, I kind of felt like a holiday almost, because, you know, that's the kind of time period that you'd stay in like a country abroad. So then when it kind of hit week 2, I was like, whoa, I'm actually here. This is really cool. I'm actually living here. And then having as well, this is my first time as well, like living abroad away from my parents. I've never lived abroad before, or like by myself basically. So even just kind of basic skills that you kind of would forget, like coming home after work and not having your mom have a ready-made dinner for you. It's kind of like weird in the sense that you'd have to then get everyone round them up at the table and be like, right, what are we having for dinner? We going shopping, let's do this, let's make this, and then having to then suit to everyone's needs. Everyone's picky, or so we had to then kind of people skills as well, kind of problem solve that as well. So that was really interesting. There was a lot of skills that I didn't expect to be strengthened, but one of them was obviously the creativity, and then as well my confidence, which was something that I found strange because I find myself to be a confident person anyway. But when I was over there, I found myself having to talk to so many new people and talking to people as well that had kind of that language barrier and being able to use kind of them skills to be able to like problem solve and be able to talk to them even if there was that language barrier or even if I didn't know them that well. So that was really interesting then to figure out as well. That like beforehand I might have been a bit hesitant, maybe a bit nervous to even live by myself or live abroad somewhere. But after that experience, 100%, 1,000,000%, I would go back. Recommend this course to people. I do talks in secondary schools as well about my course. Every time I always mention the Erasmus programme. It's something that I actually wasn't expecting to be doing when I signed up for the college. And then when we got told about it, I was amazed. And then having the opportunity to even just be there and having the opportunity to even maybe be there was amazing.
Hi, I'm Maria Elena Costasar. I'm the Human Rights and Community Development Lead at INAR. And I've been working with INAR since 2021, I think. And I'm going to talk to you today about the ULEX project and Léargas' funding of that and why it's been so important for us. So when I joined INAR, I was brought in to develop a STAND project. It's a minority ethnic community project that is led by those minority ethnic community activists. It was training them to become anti-racism trainers. So in my first year with INAR, I was taking them through training them to become trainers that would go out and deliver anti-racism courses in the community, into local authorities. And then during the course of my work, we got to hear about ULEX, Léargas, and this wonderful project from Communities Against Racism, a group of anti-racism activists. And Léargas gave us the opportunity to go on a course in ULEX in Spain. It sounds fabulous. It was fabulous. When I got to the ULEX project, the training program was really interesting. I got a chance to work with other trainers. It was a deeply immersive space. Some of the work was talking about training skills, doing different activities, improving your training, improving your thinking, giving you some of those harder skills. But what I found really exceptional was we created, even though there was a very mixed group, we created a group of people who were minority ethnic or racialized people within that group. And one of the pieces of work that we did was a goldfish space where I was sitting in the middle in this incredibly deeply uncomfortable space, reflecting on 40 years of community development and anti-racism training. It was excruciating, but fabulous. And I think that's what I'm really grateful to Léargas for doing. It's not an obvious skill. It wasn't an obvious situation. I didn't know this was going to come out of it. I was sort of, it'll be a great chance to look at training, to reflect on what I've done with the STAND project. But what came out has really helped me think about my process and has really informed my future training with other groups. So I've taken it into a piece of work that I've done with Longford Travellers, and I've also taken that into the Salam project. So now we're training anti-racism trainers, and we think about what we do, and we reflect on what we do. We did before, but we really give the ownership to those minority ethnic community participants. And we really get them to push themselves out of their comfort zone and think of different ways of doing things. So it wasn't just the easy skills. It wasn't just a, well, this is how you do this. This is how you get a group together. It was far deeper than that. And it made me think and reflect on the way that I was running the course and the STAND project. I suppose if I was to try and think and break down some of those skills, it is about, as a minority ethnic community trainer, is actually creating reflective spaces where you can get your participants to really think and be uncomfortable and push themselves in spaces. It's very difficult to explain that as a skill. There's not really huge amounts of words for it. And I think, to be quite honest, it's a process that people go through. It's not easily replicated, and it comes at a particular time. But I do know that both in the STAND project, which started touching on that way of working, And then the two projects that happened after, Longford and the Salam project. The Salam project particularly by giving Muslim women and men a space to really think about those issues, to talk about uncomfortable things that were happening to them, difficult conversations. It wasn't just the skills, those obvious skills of communication and scene setting. It was actually teaching them to sit in those spaces and to challenge themselves, just as I had done in that space. And I suppose that has made it very special and very emotional for some of our trainers. So after running the training, we have been sending people who are coming into contact with INAR and Communities Against Racism. And they come to the trainings. They're not just the anti-racism trainings within ULEX, but they build other particular skills. It may be community building. It may be some really interesting stuff around using social media. What's actually emerged now after a few years of doing this with Léargas's help is that not only do we have people who with those skills, but we have this incredible invisible network of people who are now spread through Ireland and beyond, because we are connecting with people in Europe. And they come back to us and they work with us. And it's hard to tell what comes out of it. But I know that our political participation work has come out, well done. Our political participation work has come out of that. And other work across Ireland is coming out. I can't tell what's going to come out of this in the future, but I know that network of community activists who share those values with us is an incredibly strong thing. Okay, this is Preta, the dog I brought with me. She's fabulous. She's been with me for a few years now, and we're very lucky to be able to bring her into INAR, the Irish Network Against Racism, where she hangs around with both INAR staff and TRAW staff. So she's absolute sweetheart. She was given to me by people who are very dear to me from the traveller community. She's from Clondalkin Travellers, and she's a real sweetheart. And she absolutely makes friends wherever she goes. She's really great.
Thanks to our participants for sharing those experiences. As you've shown, the growth that comes from European programs takes many forms. It's not only about technical knowledge, but also about discovering strengths you might never have thought of as skills at all. For those in the audience today whose work prepares participants for mobilities, last year, Léargas published our Transversal Skills Toolkit, a resource to help educators, coordinators, and mentors maximize opportunities for skills growth. We'll be sure to share it with you in our post-event pack. Of course, supporting skills also means creating the right environments, places where creativity, collaboration, and inclusion can flourish. Innovation is key to that. And that brings us to our next celebration, the European Innovative Teaching Award. The award recognizes Erasmus Plus projects that bring new, creative, and inclusive approaches into classrooms across Europe. This year, more than 117 projects have been honored. Congratulations to Ireland's laureates, Kinsale Community College, Deansrath Community College, and the Social and Health Education Project. Let's take a look at their projects now.
So, hello, I'm Jim Sheehan. I'm the director of SHEP, the Social and Health Education Project, based here in Cork in the south of Ireland. We're a community education and development project with a very specific focus on promoting health and well-being. So most of our work is around adult education, and we have a specific approach which is using experiential learning, non-formal approaches in group settings, mostly in the communities. So what's innovative about our Erasmus project is that we take an organisational cultural approach to it, and we've used our involvement with Erasmus over the last couple of years to support us to think differently about how we do adult education, and that's been quite transformative. So the second way in which our Erasmus project is innovative is that we have been intentional about being cross-sectoral. That means that as an NGO, we're happy and want to work with other groups in Europe who are not NGOs, for example, maybe private sector or government sector, and that brings great richness to our experience. So we're delighted to receive this award in Innovative Teaching from Erasmus. We feel hugely motivated by it, we feel recognised for the effort we put in, and we feel really proud to be involved in such a wonderful programme.
Hi, my name is Helen Taylor. I'm principal here in Dean's Rath Community College, a DDL ETB college. We provide education for both second level and further education students.
And I'm Frances McNicholas, the Deputy Principal here in Dean's Rath Community College. We are an inclusive college with a diverse student body.
This project actively engaged students of fewer opportunities and disadvantage in experiencing employment and culture, living, learning and working in Malaga in Spain. During the work placements, our students experienced innovative techniques and approaches, all quite different to their experience in Ireland.
Each day I left the placement inspired and reminded that everybody needs support and respect and a chance to engage fully in their community, irrespective of their circumstances.
I would like to thank sincerely Léargas and Erasmus Plus for allowing us the opportunity to participate in this project. And I am delighted and honoured on behalf of the staff and students of the college to accept this award.
My name is Fergal McCarthy. I'm principal of Kinsale Community School. Kinsale is a beautiful town in the southern region of Ireland. It's situated in County Cork. We're a school with an open enrolment policy of 1,500 with very strong extracurricular and co-curricular activities.
Our project was called the BEOG Project. It stood for Being European, Acting Globally. It reflected the idea that our students saw their European identity as small, because BEOG stands for small, in Gaelic, small in terms of the European context. Our project was innovative in that the focus on their European identity extended far beyond the project. What we first believed would impact them in terms of European mobilities extended into the community, extended into parents' involvement, and our students' identities grew drastically in terms of their European identity and their connection to their European citizenship.
We're so grateful to have received this award, very appreciative of it. It's an accolade that we would have sought given the passion with which we've addressed our European identity and the importance attaching to it.
Well done to all of Ireland's laureates. Hopefully that gives you a bit of inspiration. And if you're a current participant in Erasmus+, some encouragement to submit to the awards next year. Now it's time to head into our breakout sessions. As mentioned earlier, there are 3 breakout rooms. The first, Newcomers to EU programs and funding within the education and training sector. The second, Newcomers to European programs and funding within the youth, sport and volunteering sector. And third, existing participants in the Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps programs. You selected your room during registration, so you'll be automatically brought into the one you selected. If you have any issues or find yourself in the wrong room, just pop a message into the chat. All set? Let's dive in and enjoy your session.
Hello, my name is Elva and I work on Erasmus Plus Vocational Education and Training or VET mobility projects in Léargas.
Hi, my name is Tom and I work on Erasmus Plus Mobilities in the school education sector, and this includes early years, primary and secondary schools, as well as special education schools.
So we've both used the term mobility, but what exactly does that mean? Mobilities are learning activities for staff and learners that involve travel or the movement of people to other EU countries.
And Elva, you said you work in vocational education and training. What exactly is that?
Okay, so in Ireland we tend to talk a lot about further education and training, or FET. FET can cover a wide range of programmes and includes apprenticeships, traineeships, post-leaving cert or PLC courses, community adult education, as well as core literacy and numeracy services. However, from an Erasmus Plus funding perspective, FET actually includes both vocational educational training and or VET and adult education, which are 2 separate funding streams. So when we talk about Erasmus Plus vocational education and training, we mean post-leaving cert courses, we mean apprenticeships at all levels, some community training centre courses, etc. So I think it's handy to think of VET as non-university programmes that include work placements as part of the course. So they're typically National Framework of Qualifications level 4, 5 or 6 or equivalent. I can give you some examples if you'd like. Some examples would be certificate courses in like early learning and childcare. It could be social and community studies, pre-law, business studies, finance, tourism, beauty therapy, a whole range of apprenticeship courses, and all of those apprenticeships at all levels are included in VET also.
Okay, that's very interesting. And what type of organisations are funded?
If you think about PLCs, it's organisations that directly deliver those NFQ or vocational programmes. So the programme must be a full award, and so that's not your minor or your special purpose awards. It's your full awards and apprenticeships at all levels. So that would be your PLCs, community training centres, apprenticeship providers, those types of organisations.
Okay, very interesting.
So in VET, I don't know if it's the same in school sector, but in VET we have kind of, I suppose, a differentiation between short-term mobilities and long-term. So short-term for us goes up to 3 months and long-term is anything between 3 months and a year. Do you have something similar in schools or?
Yeah, we have the same. So in terms of individual mobilities, we have long-term and short-term.
Okay.
So this is when, you know, one student goes abroad by themselves to study in a school in Europe.
Okay.
So for the long-term one, they can be up to a year, and which can be quite daunting for school and for the student to organise that. But it's something that we're really trying to encourage because we've seen huge benefits for the student, and then when they come back to the school, there's huge benefits as well. So we do offer a lot of support for schools who are interested in taking part in long-term mobility, and we have a pre-mobility training every year. For teachers who are sending their students abroad on this longer term mobility.
I can imagine the language skill development after a year.
Yeah, it's
something
huge.
incredible. Yeah.
And then again, they nearly always are focused on a language learning element or theme.
And we tend to talk a lot about transversal skills development, so resilience, confidence, development, building and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if that's at the VET sector, I can imagine what it's like at the younger age profile. It must be amazing.
Yeah, it has a huge impact on the students, the opportunity, and it's generally maybe someone in transition year who goes away for the year.
Good timing.
You know, they're not missing an exam year, and it really gives them a great opportunity to develop their language skills, but to get those personal skills as well.
Oh. Yeah, increased language scoring on those for those students, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
So are there many opportunities available in the school education sector for Erasmus+?
Yeah, there are. There's a huge amount for schools to take part in, and there are Erasmus opportunities available for both pupils and teachers. So pupils have the chance to take part in both individual and group mobilities, and these can be both long and short term. These can range from group mobilities of up to 30 days and then individual mobilities of up to a whole year.
Okay, that sounds really great. And actually, could you tell me a little bit more about where the pupils have gone or what they've done? So what does a pupil mobility look like in real life?
Yeah, so we've seen pupils travel all over Europe on mobility. Probably the most common destinations are France, Germany and Spain, as these are the most popular foreign languages in schools in Ireland. Erasmus can be a great tool for language learning in schools, and lots of projects have a language learning theme.
Okay, great. Can staff travel as well, actually?
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities available for staff. So participation is open to all school staff, not just teachers, and they have the chance to attend training courses, to job shadow in other European schools, or to take part in a teaching or training assignment. You can also invite an expert to help improve teaching and learning within your school. And for courses, staff would have the opportunity to learn more about a particular topic. There's a huge range of courses available, and organisations would pick one that suits their needs best.
So if somebody asked you what the advantages of doing a course were, what would you say?
Well, I'd say there's lots of advantages to doing a course. I think mostly that you can identify a clear issue or problem that's within your organisation and then use a course to address that. It also offers your staff a great opportunity to meet partners from across Europe and then maybe develop a relationship with them going forward.
And it's a nice easy start actually. I mean the course is there already, so
exactly.
You don't have to do loads of work.
There's less work in it than organising a different mobility. And then what about the opportunities in VET? What do they look like?
Well, actually, there are very similar opportunities for staff and for learners in VET as there are in the school sector. So maybe we fund the staff and the learning mobilities as well. And we also have job shadowing and we have courses and staff training. But I might touch on maybe a little bit in terms of who the VET staff are. We tend to think of VET staff as those who are involved in the management, the design or the delivery of VET provision. So whether that be the VET at the NFQ level 4, 5 or 6 or equivalent or the apprenticeship provision.
Okay, and it's interesting that the staff activities are kind of the same across the two sectors.
Pretty much.
And then what about the learner activities? Are they a bit different?
Yeah, there are. So learners get the chance to, it's really putting theory into practice. So they get the opportunity to apply that knowledge gained in the classroom and put it into a very practical setting via a work placement in another country. So someone studying, for example, travel and tourism could potentially do a workplace in another country like Italy or Spain. They tend to be very popular. It could be in something like a tourist office or a hotel, or as long as the placement is related to the course of study. So then somebody who's studying animal care could do a work placement with, for example, a dog groomer, or in a veterinary clinic, for example. And another person who was doing business could do a work placement. Basically, they're applying the skills that they learned into a classroom into that kind of practical work setting. So it could be anything to do with the kind of a business orientated placement. So again, it always has to be related to their course of study. And they're very much work placement focused. So the placements probably range from about 2 weeks to up to a year. But in Ireland, most learners tend to go for those short-term placements of about 2 to 3 weeks. But there is the option to undertake a longer placement as well if they wish.
Okay, those sound very interesting, but are they always work placement focused?
Not always. There's actually new activity since last year, so there are other opportunities where those work placements are optional. They're not obligatory, they are optional. And the focus here is more on peer learning activities. So here there'd be an opportunity to meet with peers from another country who are doing similar courses, learn with them in a classroom setting in a vet provider school abroad. And they don't have that requirement to have a work placement. So they can do work placements if they wish. It's just optional rather than obligatory. They tend to be shorter. So instead of those 2 or 3 week placements, they tend to be for a week long. And they tend to travel, for a week or so for those peer learning activities. Oh, and actually another one that we fund as well is vet skills competitions.
Okay.
So I tend to think of this mainly for the apprenticeship sector, but as long as it's a skills competition, that can come under Erasmus Plus vet funding too. So if someone were to ask you what are the benefits of applying for Erasmus Plus funding, what would you think?
Well, I think there's a huge amount of benefits, and there's so much that Erasmus Plus can offer you. So educational organisations in Ireland don't often have the chance to collaborate internationally, and Erasmus Plus really offers them the chance to do that. It can offer unique opportunities to their staff and to their pupils, and offer opportunities for staff to develop new skills and learn new methodologies to offer their students the opportunity to learn from and connect with peers across the EU.
Okay.
So they can have a huge impact on the whole school and not just those who actually travel or take part on a mobility.
Yeah. I agree. I think the impact can be felt by the whole organisation. We hear a lot about transformational impact in relation to Erasmus Plus, and I really don't think that can be understated. So where Erasmus Plus works really, really well is when it's used strategically, and when it's used to address a challenge that is there within an organisation. We've had organisations say that Erasmus Plus is the single best initiative that they've done within their organisation ever. So they've told us that their perspective has broadened, they've learned so much from others, they've had the opportunity to share their expertise as well as learn from others. And their college or centre becomes a really attractive place to work. So I was talking to a principal recently who said that they were doing a series of interviews, and a number of the people who were attending for interviews said that they wanted to work with this particular organisation because they'd read about Erasmus Plus online. They knew that they wanted to work in an organisation that where staff development was a priority, and also where it was an organisation that was open to change. So the centre becomes a really attractive place to work, but also becomes an attractive place to study. So if a learner knows that doing part of this course here, they could do a work placement abroad, then it becomes an enticing factor. So they have that opportunity to be funded to do a work placement abroad, to again put theory into practice in a very vocational practical setting, and they can do, I think a short period of time away has a really strong impact. It can hugely impact on personal development, confidence, maturity, resilience building, all those important things in the future workplace. And we do hear something like life-changing, and we read that quite a lot in participant reports that we read. So it can really influence the learner skills, personal development, and to be honest, sometimes it can change their life trajectory, and all for the better.
Yeah, so a really good example that comes to mind of a group mobility is from a large DEIS school that had lots of students that maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to travel in the past. So they used Erasmus Plus funding to send their students on a trip to France.
Oh, wow.
These were nearly all students who hadn't been abroad before. And they were able to use Erasmus funding to get things like suitcases, passports, because there are inclusion supports available. So it's really inspiring to see these examples where schools can really take advantage of the funding and offer opportunities to students that really would never have had them before.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to take advantage of Erasmus Plus funding, what are the different paths that I could take?
Okay, so there's two main pathways. So one is short-term projects, and that's really good for somebody who's a beginner and he's new to Erasmus Plus who only wants to do a limited number of activities, because there is a limit of 30 activities on that particular pathway. So the application form is, we give you a lot of support in terms of applying there. So that's one avenue. And then the second avenue is via accreditation. So you don't have to have experience in Erasmus Plus, but it's probably to your advantage to have that. And an accreditation is showing that you have good practices in place and that you have a long-term strategic view of how you're going to reuse Erasmus Plus over the next couple of years. So once you get that accreditation, all you have to do is apply for funding on a yearly basis if you so wish. So you're literally putting in, numbers and activities, and it's really about how those numbers and those activities are going to help you achieve your long-term aims.
Okay, so the accreditation has a bit more of a strategic long-term aim than a short-term project would.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to start with short-term just to get used to, because it's a different way of applying for funding, reporting, things like that. It takes a while to get your head around it. So what we'd say is maybe start with the short-term and then move on to accreditation. Then the world's your oyster.
Okay, and how long are the short-term projects?
Short-term projects are anything between 6 and 18 months. And then the accredited projects, so those ones, their standard duration of 15 months.
And what would you say to someone maybe who's hesitant about applying for Erasmus Plus?
I think I'd just say start. Simply start. One of the things that we hear most about the experience is it's so positive that the one regret that people have is that they didn't actually start any earlier. So you can start, with a handful of mobilities, maybe a staff mobility, a staff course. And then with time, I think as confidence builds, as partnership build, the projects can grow, but key is just simply to start. We give lots of information, we give lots of guidance, so we do lots of information workshops, application workshops, and we also give really good constructive feedback on applications that are submitted to us. So you'll be supported along the way.
Yeah, I think that getting started with Erasmus can definitely be daunting. There's a huge amount of resources, as you mentioned, that are available to help. Léargas staff are always willing to respond to an email or pick up the phone. As well as that, we've lots of resources on our website to provide guidance for getting started. And then, as you mentioned, we've information sessions and application clinics throughout the year, and especially in the build-up to deadlines.
Plenty of them. Definitely. I think we could just finish up by saying that if you have any questions or queries on what you've heard today, get in touch with us. You can keep an eye on our website, social media. We always highlight when we have those information and application workshops coming up, so keep an eye on those. Chat to those who have done Erasmus Plus before, listen to their experiences, and most importantly, what the benefits are. The opportunities are truly transformational. They really are endless, and who knows where Erasmus Plus can take you. I think what we do know from current and past projects is the experience can only benefit you, your learners and your staff. So start.
Hi, I'm Gemma Lee. I am the Senior Support and Development Officer for Adult Education. I look after adult and community education organisations, and I support them to get involved in European projects through Erasmus Plus funding. My role helps organisations at all stages, so starting with their application, when they're applying for funding at the very beginning, all through the implementation and the running of their projects, and then also helping them with reporting at the end. Really, it's all about helping organisations to kind of navigate that European funding space, to figure out what all the jargon means and what it is that they need to do to have really successful projects.
And hi, my name is Asia Rutkowska, and I work in the lifelong learning team in Dublin Subsidy Partnership. And we provide educational opportunities for learners who experience educational disadvantage, people on low incomes, people with additional learning needs, people who are newcomers to the country, people who experience social isolation, and so on.
So what is adult education in Erasmus Plus? I guess there's a few different pieces to it. So we have the formal side of things, that's looking at literacy, it's learning English and other languages, it's support for early school leavers to complete their education, all those kind of things. We've also got the non-formal side of it, so that could be all kinds of personal development programs. It might be independent living skills, things like hobbies and other kind of skills that people want to develop. And a really interesting part of that is all about civic engagement, learning about your rights and responsibilities as a citizen. We then have the kind of more informal side of it. So from that point of view, there might be the kind of arts and heritage sectors, programs happening in libraries and in museums, as well as really important social inclusion programs.
And Gemma, how does Erasmus Plus support adult education?
Yeah, so it happens in a few different ways. So at an organisational level, organisations, they can partner with other organisations across Europe, they can share best practice, they can learn from each other. At a kind of a staff level, staff can travel to other European countries, they can job shadow with other people in different countries, they can attend courses and training. So really that kind of upskilling piece. But one of the most exciting parts is also for the adult learners themselves. So in that experience, the learners can actually have those supported international learning experiences across Europe. For some of those participants, it can be their first time to travel abroad, you know, if there's someone that hasn't had those kind of opportunities before, and it can really be life-changing for them. So Asha, what kind of things have you done with Erasmus Plus funding?
We applied for Erasmus Plus funding under the Diversity and Inclusion team, and we were successful in securing funding for short-term mobility for staff, and then successful in securing accreditation. And we used Erasmus to both expand the scope and the depth of our lifelong learning programs. Erasmus allowed us to invest in our staff and in our learners by exposing them to transformative educational experiences, both at home and abroad. So specifically, we brought staff on several training courses in innovative teaching methods and in methods of working with disadvantaged learners. And subsequently, staff implemented those methods and incorporated them into our courses. We also brought our learners for mobilities in other countries so they could meet peers over there and work with them and experience doing things differently.
So what led you to applying for Erasmus Plus funding?
Ultimately, we wanted to expand our horizons and upskill our staff and open new doors for our learners.
So in terms of what is the impact that Erasmus Plus has on organisations and on learners, I think the biggest thing is that there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. There's so many good practices happening in other countries across Europe that we can learn from, that we can go and we can visit, and we can either replicate that or we can adapt it to our own context. It's also really an opportunity for organisations to be innovative, to be that little bit brave, to try something new, because we can get a little bit caught in doing the same thing over and over. So it gives us that moment to go, actually, let's pause, let's see what's happening, and let's try something different. But what I also really love about it is that it just helps people, as you said, to expand their horizons, to have a new experience, to meet people they wouldn't have already met. And really, you know, on that kind of bigger scale, that helps us to break down stereotypes. It helps to build that sense of community all across Europe. So what impact has the Erasmus Plus funding had on your staff and on your learners?
The impact has really been multi-layered. Erasmus requires lots of thinking, and the more thought you give it and the more reflection you give it, the better the experience and more profound the experience is. So Erasmus, first of all, encouraged regular reflection on our aims and how we work and what we want to achieve. Secondly, it allows us to upskill our staff. And while Erasmus provides amazing, incredible training opportunities abroad, the real impact begins when staff return and start implementing the work and integrate knowledge into their daily work. And these results have been quite powerful. So staff who attended methodological courses created new courses. One example could be outdoor education. So this is something we never thought we could do in our urban context, but then following participation in Erasmus training, we were able to develop new courses that bring learning into public spaces. That resonated very well with our learners. Another course was creating more project-based learning. So again, following Erasmus training, we, during actually our first ever mobility in Tenerife, we developed with other learners, other staff from other countries, international cooking project, a draft. And then when we came back, we implemented it, or we adapted this project to implement it here in Dublin. And this course is one of our most popular courses now, with people subscribed and waiting in long waiting list and wanting to participate in it. So Erasmus definitely made our educational offer more attractive. It helped with our visibility, because people who go on mobilities, they talk about this and talk to others and recommend the experience to others. So Erasmus had a profound impact on the learners who participated in the mobilities. We put lots of effort into creating the groups and mixing the levels, the ages, the levels of ability, nationalities. And this diversity helps to reduce social polarization and then promotes empathy and shared responsibility within the group. And so when people come back, they not only come back with new skills, but they also come back with new connections. Many of our participants, like you said, never traveled outside of family contexts, or maybe their only travel has been to resort holidays. So Erasmus gives them an opportunity to be on a journey, in a way, on a learning journey, and creating friendships with people who were once strangers. Travel itself becomes very powerful learning experience, with learners building lots of soft skills and independence and resilience. And they learn to thrive in unfamiliar settings. They learn to engage with cultures in meaningful ways. One example of it was during our recent travel to Germany. Our learners met a group of Ukrainian refugees. And for many, it was the first time they actually engaged with the refugees in a contact, in a conversation, even though there are so many refugees living in Dublin. So this shared experience and hours spent together just help maybe foster empathy and then bring it back to Dublin.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking of applying for Erasmus+?
I think allow plenty of time. The clearer you are on your objectives, the easier it is to apply and to manage all the reporting.
Yeah, and that helps you to know what it is you want to do and make sure that you're keeping on track all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if someone's thinking of applying, I would say go for it. You know, the Léargas team, we're here, we're trying to support people. We're always available to answer your questions. So do just reach out to us. Don't be afraid to get in touch. We have lots of events coming up all the time to help people with their applications and to give them more information. So come along to those and talk to others who've done it before. So, you know, find the Asha in your local community, find whoever that person is, because sometimes they have the best advice for you.
Hi everyone, my name is Una Cahill and I am an eTwinning Support and Development Officer with Léargas. The eTwinning platform is an EU initiative empowering educators across Europe to connect, collaborate and enrich their teaching practices through international partnerships. So, what is eTwinning? Well, at its core, eTwinning is a secure online community for educators involved in early childhood education, primary and secondary teaching and initial teacher education. It's a multifunctional space where teachers and their students can build meaningful partnerships, share teaching resources and ideas, and learn from one another, all in a safe and collaborative environment. Let's take a look at how to set up a profile on eTwinning.
To register as an eTwinning member, you must first create an account on the European School Education Platform, ESEP. This is the home for eTwinning. On the top right corner of the homepage, you will find the Create Account button. Click here. Now use your EU login to create a profile. Simply fill in your details in the corresponding boxes, make sure to select the correct member type here and be sure to accept the terms and conditions of use. Click Next. You will now be presented with the opportunity to join eTwinning. Here, you must connect your school or organisation to your profile, ensure you have selected Available for Projects and that you accept the terms and conditions. Click Next. Your details are sent straight away to the eTwinning team for approval. We will send you an email to let you know when you are an approved member, so don't forget to check your inbox.
What makes eTwinning truly special is its scale and accessibility. The platform connects teachers from over 40 countries, each bringing their own unique perspectives, creativity, and enthusiasm for education. This network is full of passionate educators, eager to innovate in their classrooms, exchange ideas, and collaborate on joint projects that enhance learning outcomes for students. The purpose behind all of this? Well, eTwinning is both a personal and a professional gateway to European opportunities. By engaging in collaborative projects through the platform, teachers not only extend the reach and impact of their own teaching, but they also build long-lasting, professionally fulfilling partnerships. It's a chance to feel part of something bigger, a global community of educators working together to raise the quality of teaching and learning. After you open your profile on the eTwinning platform, you can search for a partner or host a project and allow a partner to find you. Let's now look at the process of how to find a partner.
Looking to connect with like-minded individuals and organisations? Go to the Connect section on the ESEP platform and select Partner Search. This is where you can search through project postings from educators all across Europe. There are many quick filters to help narrow your search. If you are interested in a particular area, you can use the search bar to refine even further. When you find a project of interest, you can simply reach out to them by contacting the poster from directly within the project posting.
Users of the platform also benefit from a wide range of supports, including access to live webinars, innovative teaching toolkits, and a treasure trove of resources created by fellow educators across Europe. But eTwinning isn't just virtual. One of its most valued offerings is the opportunity to take part in a fully funded professional development workshop abroad. These events give eTwinners the chance to meet in person, strengthen their professional networks, and continue building their collaborative projects face-to-face. Finally, quality and impact within your projects are also celebrated. Projects that demonstrate excellence in collaborative work and pedagogical approaches can be recognised with the National Quality Label, a mark of distinction that affirms the value and innovation of the work being done. Let's now hear from Cecilia Gavigan from Balbriggan Educate Together National School, who were awarded the National Quality Label for their superb eTwinning project, Let's Celebrate the European Day of Languages.
My name is Cecilia Gavigan. I'm a 5th class teacher at the moment in Balbriggan Educate Together National School. Our eTwinning project was Let's Celebrate European Day of Languages. It was an opportunity for us to celebrate the multilingualism that we have in our own class, and then also to connect with other educators and pupils around Europe. So we sent postcards to our partners in other countries, and they sent postcards to us. And then on European Day of Languages itself, we had a Zoom call with some of our partners in different countries where the children could talk to children living in Reunion Island, in Croatia, in Slovenia, in Italy, in Spain, all across Europe, and ask them questions about the languages that they speak, but also about what a school day looks like in their context. We're in a very multilingual, multicultural kind of area, so it's important for us that all children see themselves reflected in the classroom.
We did postcards and we went on calls with other people from different countries, and we learned about languages.
It was fun knowing that this was going to be seen by someone else across the world.
One of the words I learned is Persian Detje. It means hello in Albanian.
For the children, it was really lovely to be recognised by winning the National Quality Label Award. It encouraged them to really build further connections with other parts of Europe and learn more about other parts of Europe, and just gave them a sense of achievement that actually what they did was a really high standard.
I think it's important to take part in these projects so that you can learn about other countries. I think everyone had fun doing it, and I would definitely recommend it.
I fully recognise that the school day is very busy and the curriculum is very crowded, but I really would recommend other teachers to try out eTwinning projects. So it's something that you can integrate into what you're doing already, but it just adds huge benefits in the classroom for engagement and interest and effort from the children. Just start small. It doesn't have to be like this full year-long project. It can be something that's just for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks. Have a look through the platform because there's so many different projects that are already set up. If you do want to organise a project from scratch, there's kits available where they give direction and guidance on how to do exactly that. There's so much support on the eTwinning platform, and the staff in Léargas are really supportive as well. So if you have an idea or an inkling, if you contact them, they'll be really helpful in terms of how you might go around setting it up. Start small and just try it out, and it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. There can be mistakes, and that's absolutely fine. It's still going to be a really valuable learning experience for the children.
That's a wrap.
Let's go.
So why not start your eTwinning journey with the support of the eTwinning team in Léargas and see where the experience takes you. We look forward to supporting you.
Hello, I'm Mark and I'm part of the National Support Services for APALE in Léargas. And APALE is the electronic platform for adult learning in Europe. And if you think about it as like a community space or a digital village for people working in the adult learning space, whether that's adult education or vocational and educational training. Everything from educators to policymakers are in that space. So the APALE space is made up of a number of different features, and they go from being blog spaces, news articles, promoting events, and also community-wide events such as the podcasts and the newscasts. So how people can use the APALE space is by engaging with the different sections on that. You can post up blog articles about the work that you're doing, whether it's mobility or tackling challenges for your learners. You also have the news space, and you can use that to celebrate your successes and to showcase the work that you've done. We also have features on the platform such as the podcast and the newscast, which will keep you up to date on policy changes and the different themes and topics being challenged and faced all across Europe. A big part of the APALE community is events, and whether they are online digital events or events in person, whether at a national level or across Europe, which people can engage with. The benefits of this is that we can face our shared challenges together. Sometimes we feel like we're quite isolated in the work that we're doing and we put it at a local or even national level. But when you're using a platform like APALE, you can see that they're very common challenges. And by working together, we can take much larger steps. A big part of the coming together is the community conference, which is a European-wide event. And at a local level and a national level, we put on national side events for that as well. And we connect with our peers across Europe. It is all about bringing people together. And while APALE is a digital hub, it is there to promote real interactions, real collaborations, and meeting people who are working towards the same goals and sharing the same values. When you sign up to the platform, which is a very simple registration process, you'll be greeted by a member of your national support services. Each country has a team that looks after them on there and helps guide you through the features of the platform and helps you to engage with the wider European community. One of my big tips for when you sign up to the platform is to make sure to fill in your profile. It's always best to include a picture, say the type of work that you're doing and the topics that you're interested in, and also the region that you're working in. People want to work with people. So by filling in your profile, by commenting on discussions or sharing blog posts, people learn about who you are and the values that you have. And in the end of the day, it's all about people and it's all about community. So hopefully I will see you online at an event or I'll see you at a conference. And if you need any help getting started, please remember to just reach out. That's what we're there for.
Hello, my name is Carolyn MacDonald from Léargas. I am the eTwinning Support and Development Officer, and I'm joined today by Jennifer Ray, who's going to tell us her story of working with Léargas and availing of the opportunities with Erasmus in eTwinning. You're very welcome here today, Jennifer.
Thanks very much. My name is Jennifer Ray. I am a teacher in OFI Institute of Further Education. It's an FET college, but we're also a post-primary college, and I got involved in eTwinning for the first time in 2024.
And you might tell us a little bit about how you got involved from the start, because you've quite a story to tell us.
Yeah, so I'm part of our Erasmus team in OFI Institute of Further Education. John would be our Erasmus coordinator. We initially got started with short-term mobility in 2020, but that didn't happen. So the following year, 2021, then we first got involved with short-term mobility and taking the group of students to Malaga on work placement. I got a little feel for, the whole Erasmus sector. I registered myself on the ESEP. So I contacted Léargas and got speaking to Una, who said there was an upcoming international eTwinning conference in Sarajevo, and that would be a great opportunity to start off and finding out more about how to do an eTwinning project and meet people there that maybe were more experienced in doing it, and it would be a great place to start. So had the amazing opportunity of travelling to Sarajevo. I was the only teacher from Ireland there. So I was at a great advantage because Ireland is the only English-speaking country in the EU now, so we're in full demand. And so I had a great opportunity then to meet some partners there to start an idea for a project. I also had the opportunity to be on the panel discussion, which was amazing. And after the panel discussion, a lot of teachers then, volunteered to be part of the group. So I had the opportunity to start an e-twinning project in Sarajevo, drafting a plan with teachers from Turkey. It was their idea to do an e-twinning project around the EU values.
So the conference seems to have been a launchpad for you for a very colourful career in e-twinning and Erasmus. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it was definitely a great starting point. I came back with a lot of knowledge, a lot of motivation. I feel as a teacher in Ireland that, we should be maximising our opportunities because we're so in demand for collaboration on other projects with European partners. Coming back from Sarajevo, we started that project and we called it Bridges to European Values. It was based around all the European values of justice, democracy, citizenship, equality, around those themes. The themes that we kind of already instill in our schools and colleges, but it was just to kind of highlight those in a project was an amazing opportunity.
So you worked on this with a number of teachers that you met through this conference.
Yeah.
And you've now been awarded a national quality label for this project. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks. There was 9 countries altogether involved and 14 teachers. So it was a big project, but through the collaboration, we found common ground through the EU values, and we implemented it into the curricular, into different subject areas. So it didn't cause the students much additional work, but made the work that they were doing much more enjoyable.
And much more recognised then.
Much more recognised.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It sounds really, really interesting. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more about that. You also engaged in a teacher shadowing opportunity, is that correct?
Yeah, I had a busy year.
A very busy year, yeah. Maybe you tell us a little bit about that.
And that's why Léargas is fantastic, because John Carraher, our Erasmus coordinator, we got full accreditation last year for Erasmus, and we had the opportunity to get ourselves involved in teacher shadowing. So I volunteered for that, and we went over to Aranda de Duero in Spain. Three teachers from OFI Institute, myself, Marcus and Rosemary, were all business teachers. And we had the opportunity to go to Aranda de Duero for a week. Meet amazing Spanish teachers over there. We saw different methodologies that they use in their classroom, different or similar to us, and we learned a lot and learned a lot about their culture. And they're coming over to us in October, the week of the 13th of October, to teacher shadow with us, and we're making a documentary about it. Yeah.
Well, you certainly are all business when it comes to EU opportunities, aren't you?
Yeah, I love it. It's great. It really is. Yeah, it's very engaging for the students. Motivating for teachers as well. It's amazing.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about what's happening next.
So from this year, I was lucky enough to do 2 e-twinning projects. The first one was the Bridges to European Values, which I mentioned, which was 9 countries altogether. But then I found other colleagues through the partner finding fair that was organised by Léargas. I was interested in doing a sustainable tourism project. I teach tourism students,
Excellent, yes.
and there was partners from Italy looking for like-minded partners. We also won an award for that project.
Oh, fantastic.
So it was great, and it was an amazing journey for the students as well.
So tell us a little bit about the students' experience.
I feel doing e-twinning projects is it's really highly motivating and engaging for the students. They learn a lot, it doesn't necessarily have to cause them any additional work, if it's implemented into maybe an assessment or, post-primary, they could maybe implement it with a CBA. In further education, we're very lucky that we do have a bit of freedom over our assessments in a sense of as long as it's, you know, in line with the syllabus.
So all of the work that you've been doing through eTwinning is very much aligned with the curriculum, but you spoke to me before about the holistic benefits that the students demonstrated. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I found that a lot of the activities, you know, when they're student-led especially, you know, we had students. So the way I did the eTwinning project for the EU values was I asked for volunteers, for students to be involved across 4 different courses that I teach on. And the students then, you know, got to know each other outside their own classroom. A
lovely way to integrate the students, isn't it?
Yeah, we organised activities, so they were very much involved with communicating with the student council, communicating with other teachers, communicating with other students from other courses. It gave them a sense of belonging when they were involved in these activities together. So they helped organise Intercultural Day. They did activities that involved them integrating into the community. They did like a 1 million dance at the square, it was called, for Women's Aid, Women's Aid. And that was an international event, but our students got involved from locally. And from that, a few of them volunteered with Women's Aid. We have other students that were involved in our horticultural garden then. So part of the project was a sense of belonging, you know, not only in the college, but as part of the community. And that gave rise to the theme of active citizenship, which was part of the project. The main thing that I think the students really benefited from was the skills that they learnt. You know, they learnt not only the practical skills of organisation, you know, leading activities, communication. They also learnt, you know, the more softer skills like empathy. We had an activity where they told each other stories if they weren't originally from Ireland. We also grouped students together if they were multilingual based on the other languages that they speak. And we did activities around that. So it was very active, very interactive. So the students were able to, you know, improve their self-efficacy, their sense of belonging. They made friends, and they thoroughly enjoyed the activities, you know, and it gave them a voice in an autonomy in their own learning, you know. So it was really good.
So not alone were you able to teach active citizenship and see the students co-creating that. There was also language learning, there was pieces of social inclusion, and there was community development opportunities, and all of that was bundled into this fantastic work that you were doing across 4 different classrooms.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually not. It's something that's already embedded in the curriculum, you know, in different subjects, in the topics. You know, it's just a matter of piecing it together that it's more active towards a theme. It doesn't necessarily cause the students extra work. I think some teachers have a fear that it may be additional work, and it doesn't necessarily have to be.
It sounds like a powerful project. If you were to talk to a teacher who is new to eTwinning, what would you say? How would you promote it or get them involved?
Well, there's lots of ways of starting, and the way I started was trying to find other teachers that had already experience in an eTwinning project, and I took a lot of advice from the colleagues that in my project that I was doing.
These are your European counterparts.
Yeah, the European colleagues. I didn't know how to use the platform correctly. I was afraid I'd do it wrong. I was afraid it was going to cause a lot of extra paperwork. But actually it was very straightforward. It was really straightforward. So my advice would be to find a partner that you know, has a little bit of experience starting off, and get involved in, you know, your own ideas and your own plan, you know, in collaboration, which is the whole point of eTwinning. Get registered with the ESEP platform and you can find partners that way.
That's right. If you register as an eTwinner, we support you through Léargas, the eTwinning development team, and there's regular opportunities then to meet new partners, people who are interested in getting involved with eTwinning projects with teachers in Ireland. So your journey has started, it started in Dundalk, it took you to Sarajevo, it took you to Spain, and the Bridge to European Values took you actually to quite a few different countries. What has been the most enjoyable part of the experience for you?
I suppose when I came back from Sarajevo, what I said to our principal was, you know, it was just affirmation that we're doing things right. We were doing things in our college the right way. We had all the values there. It was just about, you know, highlighting them a little bit, you know, making them more active, getting the students more involved. And it was just the buzz about the place and the atmosphere of the students being involved in the projects, because at the end of the day it's about the students.
Yeah.
And to see them learning so much and being so involved in it and enjoying it, that was the benefit for me and definitely the motivating factor, yeah.
And also those students are making connections across Europe.
Yes.
So, you know, a trip to Europe doesn't seem as daunting when you have a friend and when you've communicated with other students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
It broadens their horizons. And you know, we did a part of the project that we did was telling each other stories. You know, the students that aren't originally from Ireland, of their journey, and it created empathy. And you know, that they realised that they weren't the only ones that maybe came on a difficult journey to Ireland when they heard their classmate's story or another student's story. And you know, that gave again another sense of belonging, you know, and for those students having a difficult time or maybe disadvantaged in some way, that it really made them feel like they were part of the bigger picture and
the
community.
Gave them a voice.
Yeah, and gave them a voice, yeah.
Fantastic. You've certainly had a very exciting eTwinning and Erasmus journey.
Well, thank you, Carolyn, and Léargas are fantastic, giving us these opportunities. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that any of the teachers watching today are motivated to get in touch with myself or my colleague Una Kehelly. We're the eTwinning Support and Development team. And for now, I hope you've enjoyed the breakout session, and we'll put you back into the next segment.
Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne and I'm a Senior Support and Development Officer working with Erasmus Plus Youth Partnership Projects and Sport Projects at Léargas.
Hi, my name is Darren O'Connor and I'm a youth worker. I work in Dublin Inner City and I've been involved with Erasmus Plus projects for the last 20 years. So Suzanne, what opportunities are available through Erasmus Plus?
Okay, so there's a huge amount of opportunities available. So these range from youth exchanges, which many people have probably heard of, right through to youth worker mobilities. We also have youth participation projects, which can happen entirely in Ireland, or you can build a little bit of travel into the projects. And we have a really nice inclusion project type called the Discovery U Inclusion. And Discovery U Inclusion is really an opportunity for young people to travel with the support of their youth worker across Europe in a kind of an interrail experience. So there's lots of different opportunities available to both youth workers and young people. And our team are here to help people find the best fit before they apply. The main message we want to put across today is that all young people, youth workers, youth volunteers involved in the youth sector and youth organisations in the Republic of Ireland can apply for the youth actions in the Erasmus Plus programme. And now, Darren, what have you done with Erasmus Plus funding?
So I've worked on youth exchanges since 2006, back when the programme was known as Youth in Action. I've also worked in youth worker mobility projects, from practice sharing, study visits, contact making events. So this is where youth workers get to meet up and share practice, best practice. It's also an opportunity for youth workers to go abroad. I'm currently working on a Key Action 2 project. It's called Detached Europe, whereby we are working alongside 7 other Irish organisations. We have an Italian partner who have other local organisations from Turin involved in the project. So basically what we're trying to do is create a guide, a detached guide, and we're going to launch it hopefully in February of next year. Our organisation is currently accredited. So basically we have accreditation. We try and run 3 projects per year with our accreditation. We're also heavily involved in Discovery U, so Discovery U Inclusion, which is a youth worker can support a young person in interrailing across Europe. So this is a great project. I think we've done 3 to 4 now in the last 2 to 3 years. And just really how I got into this was basically from a manager who used to work in Brado called Shane Crossan. So basically he promoted the program, he offered opportunities to the staff, to the young people. I would have personally attended training across Europe, allowing, giving me first-hand experience of what it's like to have an international experience, a European experience, and it really motivated me to bringing it back to the young people I work with and trying to encourage them into participating. So I feel there's a great need for Erasmus within our organisation. The communities we work with, they're very disconnected from their own county, let alone Europe. So having the Erasmus Plus programme really allows us to give members an opportunity to experience Europe, to engage with different cultures and gain a sense of European belonging. Many young people we work with would not have the financial capacity to travel to Europe. And in many cases, we supported participants in getting passports as they have never left the country before. So the programme gives our participants the opportunity to learn and grow.
So what impact did Erasmus Plus funding have on you and your organisation, on Bradóg and the young people you work with, Darren?
Yes, so Erasmus Plus projects, they encourage best practice for youth services. So running projects such as youth exchanges, they really allow the youth worker to plan and design a week of quality developmental work with clear aims and objectives and delivered in a fun, non-formal learning environment. This promotes and encourages good youth work practice that is carried forward within our daily services. And we have had our youth service apply for its Rainbow Awards, created a mental health cafe, which goes on every Saturday in Bradóg. We've developed youth participation projects within our service, and these were all as a result of young people's experiences on youth exchanges. So young people have become much more vocal for their rights and what they believe in. They've learned so much within Erasmus Plus journey. I believe that your relationships with young people really enhances from a youth exchange, for example. So the relationship, in my experience, you gain almost 1 year for every night you spend with a young person. So I brought young people away for a week's youth exchange, and it felt like 8 years of work that I did with that young person in that experience. And this is something that you keep for a lifetime. You have that connection with the young person. And it's just a great opportunity and a privileged position to be able to give young people these opportunities. I've learned so much myself. I took part in Salto's training of trainer, for example, where I felt I've really grown from this on a personal level. It supported me in being more tolerant, empathetic, supportive, valued, and it was a space where I learned to move forward, let things go. And this really has helped me in my youth work, my management skills and everything. I feel I've become more culturally aware and I have a better understanding to people's needs.
Fantastic. So what is accreditation? So accreditation is it's basically year-on-year strategic funding of Erasmus Plus for youth organisations. It's basically, we describe it out like a membership club. So once you're in accreditation, you're guaranteed year-on-year funding. But Darren, what has it meant to you for Bradóg to be accredited?
Yes, so being accredited now is a great change from the previous programme. It allows us now to be strategic in our planning and our European youth work. So for example, Bradóg would do 3 projects, well, ideally do 3 projects per year, 2 youth exchanges and a youth worker mobility. And also if circumstances have changed, it's great flexibility with the accreditation that if something changes, you can kind of hold off or switch it to the following year. So this is something that's really benefited ourselves, and it's not putting in 3 applications to apply for 3 separate programs. All 3 will come in under your accreditation for that particular term. So your accreditation runs for 15 months, and we are now in Bradóg. We're in our 2nd phase of our accreditation program. So it's really going well, and we find it a real benefit to have. And I would advise any project there, if you've done some youth exchanges and have a little bit of experience with Erasmus, you should be applying for your accreditation. So I know why I applied, Suzanne, but why do you think other projects should apply?
Well, I just think they're fantastic opportunities we've already discussed, for both young people and youth workers. And really, we want everybody to have the opportunity to travel across Europe and to work with European partners. So we want lots more applications from grassroots youth organisations like Bradog, but right across the country. And we want to make sure that we're reaching every part of the country as well, so that young people, whether you're from Dublin, Laois or Kerry, that you have the same opportunity to be involved in Erasmus+. So what would you say to someone who's unsure about applying?
I would say look at how you can do it rather than say you can't. So there are so many different projects that can support people to engage. It will open your mind. What you will learn from a European activity, a college can never teach you. So, Suzanne, how can people find out more?
Okay, so you can go to léargas.ie to sign up for any information there. You can keep an eye out on the website as well for any upcoming information sessions. We also do project labs and application clinics. So we take a really high support model for our applicants. We also have dedicated project officers that will work with applicants to support their applications as well. So throughout the year, there's a number of different sessions, but obviously we also have the higher support at the time of applications deadlines.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie. I am the Support and Development Officer for Sport on the Youth, Sport and ESC team at Léargas. My role focuses on supporting and monitoring Erasmus Plus projects, specifically the Erasmus Plus Sports Staff Mobility Action. So I work closely with sports clubs and organisations across Ireland to guide them through the application process to ensure effective project implementation and to promote meaningful international cooperation in sport.
Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia and I'm the lead of the player coach development team in Portlaoise AFC, and I also am the director of the academy. And Portlaoise AFC is a soccer club in County Laois in the Midlands in Ireland, in a town of about 35,000 people. And we have a very diverse background, a very diverse playing population, and many coaches and volunteers.
What is Erasmus Plus Sport? The Erasmus Plus Sport Staff Mobility Action supports learning and development opportunities for sport staff across Europe. It is part of the wider Erasmus Plus programme aiming to strengthen grassroots sports, foster cooperation and improve the skills of the people working in the sports sector.
What can someone do with Erasmus Plus sport funding?
So the Erasmus Plus Sport Staff Action provides funding for short-term mobility opportunities for all types of sports staff. So this can be coaches, trainers, administrators, volunteers and other support staff in the sports sector. So participants can spend time in another European country to take part in a job shadowing activity or a coaching training assignment. The action is particularly suitable for grassroots sports clubs, local authorities involved in sport, national governing bodies and local sports partnerships. So the goal is to develop skills, exchange best practices and strengthen cooperation in the field of sport across Europe. What did you do with Erasmus Plus funding, Sylvia?
So we applied to do job shadowing in Belgium. Well, I suppose we decided we would go to Belgium. And we brought 6 participants across for 4 days. And we had an amazing time just looking at all different aspects of how their football club ran in Antwerp and how the structure of the sport was around, I suppose, underage football and also all the way up through teenage years and into adulthood. And we just had an absolutely brilliant time over the 4 days, and we learned so much and brought back so many ideas, and we just had a great group of people that went. We had such fun interacting with one another, and then obviously interacting with our hosts who were absolutely amazing while we were over there. We just had a brilliant time altogether.
What inspired you to apply for Erasmus Plus Sport?
So I suppose in the beginning I had an idea for myself to travel to another country to see how they would do things over there. But then we got an email into the club from Léargas, and so it was highlighted that we had this opportunity to apply for funding. So it wasn't going to cost me any money, so I thought that this is great. We should maybe have a look at this. I suppose the initial issue was it was a very short time frame between the email coming in and the application. So we had a bit of a panic on to try and get organised, but we linked up with Suzanne and Katie in Léargas. We did a workshop with them online, and then we just got the process started. Put a bit of pressure on to get the application together, and got it in time, and then a couple of months later found out that we got accepted. So it was happy days.
What impact did the Erasmus Plus project have on your own club?
So we, like I said, we had a fantastic time overall. So the 6 coaches that travelled, I suppose their experience of being a coach in our club was enhanced by the experience that they had when they travelled. The links between us as coaches and people involved in our club are strengthened, so the relationships between us are better, which will help the club going forward. But the biggest and most unexpected thing that we had as a development in our club from this trip was when we visited K Grun and Hook Sport in Antwerp. The first thing that we noticed that was different that they had that we didn't was a cafeteria and a canteen area where they had I suppose food and snacks and drinks and stuff available. They also had a bar, but we won't go there maybe. So when we all came back, we sat with our committee and we said, look, this is one of the biggest things that we notice. We need a space where we can connect with one another, where we can have the chats, where we can build relationships and make connections for parents, for club members, for the wider community. So when we got back, we actually were able to make it happen. And within 12 months of us arriving back from Antwerp, we actually have managed to make a club hub, which has a canteen area and a coffee shop and stuff. So we're absolutely delighted with that. That's the biggest impact, and I suppose there's lots of other little things that maybe aren't as obvious, but that was a huge project for us, and all because of this. It wouldn't have happened if we hadn't have travelled.
The Erasmus Plus Sports Staff Mobility Action has had a positive impact on grassroots sports by providing coaches and other sports staff with the opportunity to develop their skills through this international learning experience. By participating in the job shadowing or the coaching assignment abroad, sports staff can gain new knowledge, innovative methods and best practices, which they can bring back to their local clubs and organisations. So this not only enhances the quality of the coaching and the administration, but it also strengthens the capacity of grassroots clubs to deliver better training, to enhance participation and to foster inclusive community-based development and environments. So what advice would you give to someone who is feeling hesitant about applying, Sylvia?
So I'd say it's absolutely normal to feel hesitant about applying, because it was a bit of a big undertaking. But I had no experience of anything like this before we did it. And I just took a bit of a jump and got great support from the people in Léargas, so Suzanne and Katie. And then also we needed an OID number, which we didn't realise at the start. And the only way that we would actually be able to apply for the funding was to get some support from another organisation. And so we linked in with our local sports partnership, and they were absolutely fantastic, because as I mentioned, we had a very short time frame to get the application in. As soon as we mentioned it, it was a space of a weekend. They were able to get clearance for us to work together and to partner up with it, which was absolutely fantastic. So I think it's be normal to be hesitant, but I think absolutely it's so worth it. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, if you want to get the most benefit from it. But it's absolutely something I would encourage any club to do. And I think the benefits for the people that travel and the people that get to go and to bring the stuff back to the club is just, it's fantastic, really fantastic. Katie, where can we get more support?
So you can check out the Léargas website. We will have application clinics and project development labs going on. And I would advise any organisations interested in applying to begin early to develop a strong partnership and to prepare their project proposals. So you can check out our website at Léargas.
So hi, I'm Suzanne Kavanagh and I'm the Senior Officer responsible for the European Solidarity Corps.
Hi, I'm Shanika, I'm 19 years old. I'm a young carer.
So what is the European Solidarity Corps? So the Solidarity Corps is an initiative funded by the European Union that offers young people opportunities to engage in meaningful projects that benefit communities across Europe and beyond. It aims to foster solidarity, social cohesion and active citizenship by facilitating volunteering. So young people can volunteer in various activities, so covering lots of different sectors, so youth, social services, environment, culture and health. And the idea is that young people become change makers within that project, and that instills in them and inspires them to become change makers once those programmes are over.
What opportunities are available for European Solidarity Corps projects?
Well, you know some of them, Shanika. So for young people, they can participate in volunteering projects. So those volunteering projects are for young people between 18 and 30. They can be for up to a year, and they can be in their own country, or they can be abroad. And there's also solidarity projects. So solidarity projects then are young people themselves. They identify an issue within their own community. They feel strongly about it and they want to do something about it. So they apply then for their own project within their to us in the national agency, and we support them then to be able to address that issue.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Shanika, you're involved in the ESC. So what are you doing?
So my project is titled Carers Connect. My project was built around a team of young carers and young adult carers. I aim to provide a support network for young carers and young adult carers, as of the reason it seemed that they were not spoken about enough. I felt that this issue needs to be highlighted and recognised. I found the application process for this European Solidarity Corps project to be slow and steady. I found the application to be quite detailed, but this is a topic that is very close to my heart, as I myself am a young carer. I found it extremely interesting, and also questions that were asked for the application were strict in our criteria but were quite fair.
Why should I do the European Solidarity Corps? Well, I think that young people should do the European Solidarity Corps because it's a unique opportunity. What the Solidarity Corps offers is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to develop, and to also be pushed out of your comfort zone in the safest possible way that can happen. So my job is to actually ensure that those opportunities are of high quality and that those young people get that support. And to be able to walk away and feel that they have got those new skills and new competencies. But also deeper than that, I suppose, is that they feel they're more connected to the issue that they're trying to address, that they feel strongly about it, and they feel, actually, I do play a part in fixing this problem, and I can do that. And I think that's the thing that's what inspires young people, and that's what brings them through that thing of like, I can. So absolutely. Do it. Shanika, what inspired you to get involved in the European Solidarity Corps?
So what inspired me to get involved in the European Solidarity Corps project was the experience of myself being a young carer to my family, my younger brother specifically, because the resources weren't available to him, and I carried a huge caring role in my family with assisting my mother and my father with caring for my younger brother, and I just wanted to expand kind of my caring role and give back to my community, and to help young carers and young adult carers identify themselves with the term, and kind of not to label themselves with the term, but just to recognise there's a word out there for the role that they're providing. I connected with young people in my community and in my school. I reached out to all the UBU youth services in Ireland. I wanted to gain more knowledge about the young carers and young adult carers in Ireland, as I aimed in the beginning to reach over 100 young carers nationally in 1 year. Yeah.
And you're on your way to doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And do you think the program connects with that, like with your aspirations?
Yes, I feel like I've been helping a lot of the young carers and young adult carers gain a lot more confidence with the Zoom sessions online on Tuesday evenings as well. A lot of the people that are on the Zoom sessions actually are in the same school together, so they built a community of helping each other with homework. As being a young carer, you fall back on homework a lot, and your attendance in school drops significantly. So I feel like with the Zoom sessions online, it provides a support network for young carers and young adult carers, and yeah.
Okay. Who can take part in the European Solidarity Corps? So the European Solidarity Corps is open to everybody. So primarily it is for young people between 18 and 30 from the EU member states and partner countries. However, it does emphasise inclusion and encourages participation from all backgrounds, including young people who have barriers. Okay, Shanika, what would you say to any young person who's fearful about participating in the European Solidarity Corps?
So what I would say to someone who's fearful about joining would be to just go ahead and join it. You never know unless you try. There's so much background support. You're provided a strong network with the staff at Léargas. The staff are very understanding about people's situations and are there to aid assistance wherever and whenever needed. Léargas and Erasmus Plus provide young people with opportunities that they might not have received any other way. My advice would be to build a project that you are very passionate about and work your way up. I feel that connecting with like-minded people that feel so strong about the same topic that you do, your project team's stronger and your ideas bounce off one another. I have learned so much about various people's situations and backgrounds and how to deal with certain problems that may arise. With doing the online Zoom sessions in my project, I've seen the young carers and young adult carers' confidence grow and they become more open with speaking about how they feel. It seems that I have provided the young people with a safe space and they look forward to joining the Tuesday evening sessions and the in-person events. The participants in my project have made close friendships. The young people seem to be able to offload their worries. While we go out for various trips and events, it makes me really happy to see them laugh, smile and relax and put their caring duties aside to enjoy young people's fun. They seem to be so much more relaxed and at ease and are delighted to be provided the opportunities. And also as part of my project, I've built a Carers Connect portal, which provides young people with basic first aid tips, accessible cooking recipes and news about the events the young people have attended. The portal is accessible to people around Europe, so that's really good.
That is really good. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
Where can I find out more about the European Solidarity Corps? So to find out more about the European Solidarity Corps, you can visit the website, the European Youth Portal, which has a dedicated space for the volunteering programme. There is information around the volunteering. There's also information about what kind of organisations there are and opportunities that they have, so you can explore that a little bit. You can then register to join the European Solidarity Corps, and it's a very simple step to take into the programme.
Hi everyone. I hope you picked up some interesting insights and information from my colleagues working in Erasmus Plus Youth, Sports and the European Solidarity Corps, as well as our fantastic beneficiaries. Now, I'm going to speak with my colleagues. Suzanne, who is our Senior Officer responsible for the European Solidarity Corps. Thanks for coming back to chat more about ESC, Suzanne. Margajata, who is our Eurodesk Officer, and Mark Healy, who is a youth worker with YMCA, currently working with Eurodesk Ireland to provide information and publication support. We're going to discuss the programs that you work on and how they allow young people to engage with European programs. Let's start with the basics. So for young people and youth organizations watching who might not know, what exactly are the European Solidarity Corps and Eurodesk? But Suzanne, I'll start with you.
Yes, so the European Solidarity Corps is a programme, it's a volunteering programme that funds young people between 18 and 30 to volunteer within their community and also abroad in Europe. So they can be involved in lots of different opportunities across all the different sectors, so include youth, health, civic society and participation. And organisations then, how the young people, how they support young people to participate is they host them or they send them as an organisation, and they enter the programme and we fund them to then fund those young people to participate.
Great, thanks for that summary. Margajata, could you explain what Eurodesk is?
Yeah, Eurodesk is a free information service for young people on opportunities to work, to travel, to study, to volunteer in Europe, and to take part in different European programs like Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps. We also have a network, European network of Eurodesk information points. They're called multipliers across 36 European countries. And in Ireland, we have a local network of youth information centres and Europe Direct information centres providing European information to young people at the local level. They also provide support and help young people to access different programs.
Great, thank you. And Mark, you're here today because you've been working with Eurodesk Ireland, and can you kind of explain two things? So how are you collaborating with Eurodesk Ireland, but also can you tell us about your experience with European programs?
Yes, so I've kind of been involved in European programs for a few years, so I've been vaguely aware of like Eurodesk's work, but it's only been the last few months or the last year where I've really got involved with the Eurodesk work. So I do a little bit of publication and information support with Eurodesk, but I'm also involved in some of their European programs. And in the last month, this has included going with Eurodesk to the European Youth Event, which is a European event held in the European Parliament in Strasbourg every 2 years for about 8,000 people. So I was able to travel there with a couple of Eurodesk young people in the middle of June. And more recently, involved in a youth exchange, Erasmus Plus funded youth exchange, where it was a collaboration effort between young people in Ireland and young people in Italy. In fact, it's actually migrants from Italy. This has included myself and a couple of young people going to Bologna at the end of June to basically work with young migrants over there. These opportunities are great to not only support collaboration, but to connect, learn about yourselves, learn about different cultures, and just connect with young people from around Europe.
Yeah, fantastic. So in your work as well, you meet lots of young people across Ireland and Europe. What do you think holds some of them back from getting involved in European programs and opportunities?
Yeah, I think a big thing is funding and the costs, which is why these opportunities are so amazing, because they're all funded. But I think also for young people, it's just about getting involved. Sometimes it's more difficult for young people to actually say, yes, I want to do something, I want to get involved in an organisation, I want to travel or get involved in European projects. And that's why local support services like YMCA that I work with is so important to be able to encourage young people to actually get involved.
Thanks for that, Mark. Yeah, I can see how the funding would, of course, be a barrier for young people looking to take part. Suzanne and Margajata, you might have more insight there about how we can, how our programs or Eurodesk support that further.
Yeah, so it's really important that everybody is able to participate in these programs, that it's accessible to all. And of course, funding is a big issue particularly for young people. And obviously, if you're volunteering, when you walk out the door, it's going to cost you money. So it's really important that we have the funding that is available. And there is funding. So everything is funded from the travel to the pocket money. They get a small stipend. And there's also extra funding for anybody who has any barriers that they're experiencing to participate. So things like if you're rurally isolated, or if you have an educational disadvantage, or if you have a physical or mental health issue. And also then there's also the reason why we have a sending and a hosting organisation is so that those young people that may feel that they're not confident and they may need extra support pre-departure and post-placement, that's why those organisations exist. So we are the ones who monitor those organisations. So we make sure that framework and that support is wrapped right around those young people to ensure that actually they can participate and that they get the best possible opportunity.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Margajata, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I feel that Eurodesk multipliers play a very important role in raising awareness about different opportunities, but also in helping young people to cope with different barriers. And I think it's not only funding barriers, but it's also mental barriers, to leave your comfort zone, to leave your friends and your family, to do not know what is expecting you abroad. So our multipliers usually would spend lots of time with young people, showing them examples of different projects, bringing them to those preparatory visits as well. But also talking them through, different fears, for example. They often run workshops actually for youth groups on different fears, where young people can also verbalize, what their fears are, and then talk together about how they can overcome those fears. For example, if they feel homesick when they are abroad, what kind of support exists locally, that they can always contact both the sending and the hosting organization, for example. They can talk to other young people who had participated already in different programs, who can also share some tips with them. So there's lots of different ways to help young people overcome different barriers, and also to receive the information about the existing supports like the linguistic support and personal support, mentoring that is always offered, for example, with European Solidarity Corps. So I think they play a very good, very important role in encouraging young people to overcome different barriers. They also talk to parents actually, because often it's parents who are scared of letting their people, like we discover you as well, you know, to go
sometimes
abroad.
parents think it's too good to be true.
Exactly.
I don't have to pay anything, you know.
They don't believe it.
They don't believe it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and sometimes young people also come to the Youth Information Center asking, is this a scam?
Yeah.
You know? Because it's all free, you know, like it's not possible that I can volunteer abroad without fundraising first, you know, like with many commercial programs, I would say, yeah. So there's lots of actually links and channels that our multipliers would use to make sure that a young person is not worried about different matters, that they know where they can find support, that they know what the challenges may be as well, because there will be challenges too. And they also know that their family will be not worried too much when they go abroad, but they will know that they are, you know, looked after by professional youth workers, that they receive help, support, funding, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fantastic, and I'm interested to hear a little bit more about the multipliers. So how many multipliers are there?
Yeah, we have 30 multipliers across Ireland. They include all the youth information services, 7 Europe Direct centres. We also collaborate with Voluntary Service International and with Spoon Out, as well as with other organizations. But our main multipliers would be those who deal directly with young people through events, through answering inquiries, through one-to-one contacts in the youth information centers, through different workshops, and so on and so on. Yeah.
The next question then is just if you could describe a bit about, you know, why you think young people need to get involved in European programs. You know, why is it important that people in Ireland, young people in Ireland, are having their voice heard?
I think we can all agree that young people have a very unique perspective and a very unique voice. And it's really important that, like for me as a youth worker, any young person, to encourage the next generation of young people to have their voices heard, whether that's with politics or getting involved in European projects, to meet young people, to exchange different voices. We're pretty lucky in Ireland. We have opportunities like Coral and Logue, where it's easy for young people to have their voices heard, especially in a political sense. But what I discovered by working with young people in Europe is that this isn't the case in many European countries. But most importantly, it's about how do we amplify young voice. And I found that by opening young people and myself to different perspectives and different cultures and different experiences from people from all over Europe and all over the world, it really gives you the opportunity to kind of amplify that voice and give young people the platform to actually have their voice heard.
Great, thank you. And that's actually, that's a really great link to European Solidarity Corps and Eurodesk, which is so much about young people's voice, but in very different ways. So Suzanne, I think, you know, you've really seen firsthand how European Solidarity Corps is transformational, you know, it changes lives. So could you share, you know, a success story or a moment that really stood out for you in that way?
Yeah, and I think actually going back to that question around why people don't actually travel is a good example, because when you start off with somebody who may not have the confidence to think that this opportunity is for them, they may feel actually this is something that's out of my comfort zone, or I've never travelled before, or what is going to be expected of me. So because these programs are able to put in the supports that are required after many years in existence, and listening to all the feedback and everything, that actually that what I've seen, and I've been very privileged to see, is young people, for most of the volunteers, they do travel internationally, but there's also the opportunity to participate locally, and they have the same experience. So in terms of they begin to develop their empathy. So their understanding of what's going on within their community or other communities. And they start to understand the fact that actually I am really important in terms of making changes here, and I actually can make that change. So they either start to do that within their own community, or they come back and they're invigorated, they really want to participate within their community. They have, and often they've got good progression routes. So they're moving from maybe from that early school leaver or not knowing what they want to do to a very definite idea of what they want to do. And I also think that when you've had this experience when you're young, you then are actually much more inclined to continue your participation. So you're either in a policy or in a democratic way, but definitely within your community, and you're also much more likely to become a change maker within that community. So, and that's, I've been very, very, very privileged to see that in my 8 years in the Solidarity Corps.
Yeah, and I loved everything that you were saying there, really, but the change maker piece, there's really a sense of, I think, a willingness to continue on that work, to continue making change, unity, which kind of brings us to that term solidarity, which is within the program. So solidarity can mean different things to different people. So I'd love to hear, what does it look like in practice when you see people coming through the program and engaging in these projects?
Yeah, and that's really interesting to talk about solidarity, because when the solidarity started, the Corps, they decided that they were going to have this piece of research to look across Europe to find this definition of solidarity. And they couldn't, because it means so many different things to so many people. So they actually found these kind of pillars that solidarity is built on, like human rights and civic participation. And I suppose that's the stuff that when I go out and I talk to young people, and I feel that they are, and organisations actually who are making the changes within our society, that it's about them actually becoming closer to those issues and looking at why those issues exist. Why are these challenges? What do these challenges exist, or what does prevent people from being able to be included in different parts of society, or to have the issues or challenges they have, like homelessness and stuff like that. And I think that what happens is they start to understand the societal makeup. So things like bureaucracy, systems, red tape, things like that. And they realise actually that but not only does that exist, but I actually can change this. And I do it by action. So it's empathy and action, which I really do think that's the piece of the solidarity piece of the Solidarity Corps.
Yeah, fantastic. Going back to Eurodesk for a moment, which is really all about connecting young people with information, with opportunities, right? They might not be aware of beautiful programs like the European Solidarity Corps and how they can engage. So Margajata, how do you make sure that this information, these opportunities reach everyone that we'd like them to reach, and especially in rural or underrepresented communities?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, Eurodesk is also a network of local information points across different countries, and in Ireland we have around 30 local multipliers, we call them. So that's mostly all the youth information centers and youth information services, and also Europe Direct centers, where we have professional youth workers and information workers, where young people can always go to get not only safe, reliable and correct information about European programs, but also one-to-one support, where they can ask their questions, they can receive help with filling the application forms, where they can also become prepared to go abroad. And often this process may take even 1 year, since the moment when a person heard for the first time about opportunities abroad and then was ready to take the first step to go abroad, to leave their comfort zone. So it's a very holistic approach, and it's a very long process sometimes, but because we also focus on inclusion and want every young person from Ireland to be able to access different opportunities, we think that it's not all about the numbers, but it's also about the quality of service. And there's also information available online on different websites. There's also live youth info chat in Ireland, where young people can send their questions to youth information workers directly and receive the answers. Many of our multipliers also organize information events at schools, in colleges, at information fairs. We take part in the Plowing each year, where we provide information to a very wide audience from different sectors. So there are many channels through which this information is spread in order to reach out to as many young people as possible in Ireland.
And could you share maybe a success story about, a time where a young person came through that multiplier group and Eurodesk and that relationship and how they went into one of the
Absolutely, yeah. So since I started working for Léargas in 2003, I heard many really touching and moving success stories of young people who were often supported by the Eurodesk multipliers. And I will never forget that story of a young woman who was working in a meat factory, I believe, somewhere in County Tipperary, and who was really frustrated about her daily routines and who felt there was something else for her in the world waiting for her. So she heard from our local Eurodesk multiplier about the volunteering program, which was called at the time Voluntary Service. Now it's European Solidarity, but it's the same program. And she had never been abroad, actually, but she really wanted to have this opportunity to change something in her life. So she was encouraged and supported by the local Eurodesk multipliers in Tipperary, and she went to Finland for 1 year. And she told her story after her return, after actually a number of years, because she was in early school leaver. And when she spent 1 year in Finland in a youth organization there, helping other young people, she even learned Finnish, actually, a little bit, yeah. So she came back and she went back to education, starting from where she left it. And then she told us that when she was about to start going to college, she was quite worried if she would manage because she was a single mom. But she then went back to her experience in Finland. So she said, if I manage on my own for 1 year in Finland, I can do everything. And that was very uplifting. And this is the line that will stay forever with me, I think, because it shows how European programs can transform young people's lives and how much confidence they can gain through this experience, where they discover their talents, their skills, that they can do something, that they can teach other young people something, that they can support other young people. And then they value I think they see the value of education. They become youth workers, social workers. The world is the oyster.
Yeah. I think that's a really inspiring note to end that question on, Margajada, where it's just, we're hearing that giving back, right? So it's these people participating, becoming aware of these opportunities, realizing that confidence, if I can do this, I can do anything.
Absolutely.
And then wanting to give back to that community, right?
Yeah.
So I think for any young person watching today, we want them to feel inspired. What's one simple first step that you think they could take to kind of get on board, to get involved in Eurodesk, in European Solidarity Corps, or in other ways in European programs? And I'll go to Suzanne first.
Yeah, so it is quite simple, actually. So you go onto the European Youth Portal and into the volunteering section within that. And then you register. As a young person, you can register straight away online. And to register is a very simple process. A few questions, where you're from, where you'd like to go, when you're available to travel. So it's a very simple first step.
Great. Margajada?
Yeah, you mentioned the Eurodesk website. So this is a relatively new website with lots of youth-friendly information about different opportunities abroad and in Ireland, because we also provide information for young people who may come to Ireland from another country, so it's always cross-border. There are also contact details of our local multipliers, where a young person can contact them directly, possibly in the local area. And we also have contact details of different specialized European information networks, such as EURES, for example, who can help to look for a job abroad as well. So please go to our website, eurodesk.ie. Check all the information as the first step, and there's also an inquiry form. You can also send an email directly to myself. But I would recommend really to go to the local youth information services or to the local youth information center, Europe Direct Center, to get personalized support and guidance as well.
Yeah, that personal support is key there. And Mark, finally, as someone who's participated in the programs and engaged in Eurodesk, what's one step?
I guess I go with a bit of advice, and that would be to just say yes. And there are so many European opportunities out there. Sometimes they can be more difficult to find, but like visit the European Youth Portal or visit the Eurodesk website and find your local, whether it's the information service or your local Eurodesk, and reach out. Find the opportunity that like suits you the best, and ask the people who, the experts in those fields, like to find you an opportunity, and just say yes and take part.
Yeah. Great. I love that to end there. Ask questions, you know, reach out and just ask, and how you can engage more and get started. Thanks to everyone on the panel. We're going to go back to the main area for the closing session. Hi again, welcome to Breakout Room 3. If you're in this breakout room, it means you're already familiar with our major programs like Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps, but we have a few other fantastic European initiatives and opportunities that you might not have come across yet. I'm here with my colleagues Mark and Una from eTwinning and Apale to discuss the online platforms that can help you find partners, connect with professionals in your field, and start collaborating. So let's start with the big picture. Can each of you give us a short overview of eTwinning and Apale? And Una, I'll start with you.
Yes. So eTwinning is the European community for schools and educators. It's a completely free online platform that connects teachers and their students with partners from over 40 countries in the EU and beyond. It's for teachers working in early years settings, primaries and secondary schools, and also in initial teacher education, so student teachers and teacher trainers. The platform supports teachers to work on collaborative projects across borders, and allows students to connect directly in with their peers as well. And it facilitates professional development both through the platform online and then in person through funded opportunities abroad that Léargas funds.
Amazing. Thanks, Una. Mark, could you give us a quick overview of Apale?
Yeah, so Apale is the electronic platform for adult learning in Europe. So it's a digital community of almost 170,000 members across 39 countries, and it's made up of people who are working as educators, policymakers. They're all adult learning professionals, and that can be adult ed and vocational educational training. But the platform itself is made in such a way that allows you to kind of showcase the work you're doing at a local level, at a national level, and that's great for those who haven't yet stepped into kind of that European collaboration side of things. It lets them find their feet and see what's going on. And that's across the discussion panels, whether it's watching the podcasts or posting blog posts or news articles, and then a whole suite of online and in-person events as well.
Partner finding is so important, as is collaboration on these platforms. So could you just let us know, how do the platforms help or support educators and organizations to connect? And Una, you might start first with eTwinning.
Yeah, so from a practical side, eTwinning has a whole dedicated partner finding area. So you can go there and respond to posts that other educators have posted, and you can filter by things like country, language, theme, maybe the age of your students, and you can also post yourself if you have specific needs. And here you can look for just an eTwinning project, or if you're also looking for an Erasmus project, you can also use it. You'll also find partnerships at online and in-person events, both. These could be online partner finding fairs that will be facilitated by ourselves or by other eTwinning national support organisations, or professional development workshops abroad. So eTwinning really gives you the opportunity to meet with like-minded people who share the same interests as you. And as an existing beneficiary, it's a really great place to establish a new partnership if you're trying to find a new partner for an Erasmus project maybe, or to build on existing ones that you already have. And lots of our long-time eTwinners have really built friendships with people they've been working with, and they continue to work with them over the course of their careers, which is really lovely.
Yeah, that's fantastic, the friendship building. And it's not just the educators, is it? Is it the classrooms?
Yeah, students as well. Yeah, which is really nice.
That's great. That's exactly what we want. And Mark, I know that Apale has similar features on their platforms for partner finding. Do you want to share a bit about that with us?
Yeah, when Apale started, it was all about collaboration. That was the brief for when they were building it. And there's been, similar to eTwinning, there's been a partner finding function on there from the beginning. And that is, again, where you can lay out based on what you're looking for, the type of work you're looking to do. And you can post a partner finding ad essentially on there saying like maybe there's set countries that you want to work in for particular reasons. And yeah, you kind of like lay out your style about what it is you want to work on. Another great change we've seen in the last few years is this organic partner finding. And it's this idea by engaging with the community, because some people don't necessarily have an Erasmus project in mind. They're not fully aware of kind of what they can do. So by engaging with the blog posts and the discussions, by attending events, you kind of find your people who are working towards the same goals, and then you find your partners that way, which is fantastic to see. And again, like e-twinning, you see these kind of building lasting relationships, which means they're taking much bigger steps in the work that they're doing.
Yeah, fantastic. And that brings me to the next question here. So what are some of the creative and impactful ways that you see people using these platforms to work together on projects? And I think we'll go back to you, Una.
Yeah, so we have a nice video here to share of one of our National Quality Label winners from 2024, a teacher, Cecilia Gavigan from Balbriggan Educate Together National School. She won a label for her project, Let's Celebrate the European Day of Languages. And it's a very simple project, but it really shows the power of e-twinning. In particular, in this school, it's a very multicultural setting, so it really opened the classroom up to Europe, and it gave space to the students in the class who maybe had different languages at home to feel comfortable sharing those with their peers and to have a space to use them. So
great. Okay, let's check that out right now.
My name is Cecilia Gavigan. I'm a 5th class teacher at the moment in Balbriggan Educate Together National School. Our e-twinning project was Let's Celebrate European Day of Languages. It was an opportunity for us to celebrate the multilingualism that we have in our own class, and then also to connect with other educators and pupils around Europe. So we sent postcards to our partners in other countries, and they sent postcards to us. And then on European Day of Languages itself, we had a Zoom call with some of our partners in different countries where the children could talk to children living in Reunion Island, in Croatia, in Slovenia, in Italy, in Spain, all across Europe, and ask them questions about the languages that they speak, but also about what a school day looks like in their context. We're in a very multilingual, multicultural kind of area, so it's important for us that all children see themselves reflected in the classroom.
We did postcards and we went on calls with other people from different countries, and we learned about languages.
It was fun knowing that this was going to be seen by someone else across the world.
One of the words I learned is Persian Detje. It means hello in Albanian.
For the children, it was really lovely to be recognised by winning the National Quality Label Award. It encouraged them to really build further connections with other parts of Europe and learn more about other parts of Europe, and just gave them a sense of achievement that actually what they did was a really high standard.
I think it's important to take part in these projects so that you can learn about other countries. I think everyone had fun doing it, and I would definitely recommend it.
I fully recognise that the school day is very busy and the curriculum is very crowded, but I really would recommend other teachers to try out e-twinning projects. So it's something that you can integrate into what you're doing already, but it just adds huge benefits in the classroom for engagement and interest and effort from the children. Just start small. It doesn't have to be like this full year-long project. It can be something that's just for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks. Have a look through the platform because there's so many different projects that are already set up. If you do want to organise a project from scratch, there's kits available where they give direction and guidance on how to do exactly that. There's so much support on the e-twinning platform, and the staff in Léargas are really, really supportive as well. So if you have an idea or an inkling, if you contact them, they'll be really helpful in terms of how you might go around setting it up. Start small and just try it out, and it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. There can be mistakes, and that's absolutely fine. It's still going to be a really valuable learning experience for the children.
That's a wrap.
Let's go.
Really great to see Cecilia Gavigan and that classroom come together and to hear about their e-twinning project and see that impact. So going back to that question about creativity and impact, Mark, how do you see this being rolled out on the Apale platform?
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of the big challenges that we see is like an awareness of what work is being done. But even at a national level for that, people don't have the resources and the time to explore what other organisations are doing. So when we've done events in the past, like the community conference, it's great to get people in the room together and allow them to showcase their work. And we saw a couple of years ago some people coming together, and as people were kind of like an overview of what's going on, you kind of get an idea of who may work well together, but you can't be so obvious as to push them together, you know. But out of that, we saw a great presentation from Dara in Tenny, who are the Trans Equality Network of Ireland, and they were presenting on inclusive language. And we had some language schools there in the audience, and Bridge Mills Language Centre in Galway now are working with Tenny on a Key Action 2 project, which started from the meeting at that event. So it's great to kind of see that and building that kind of national network as well, so that when they approach Europe together and they got their partners in Romania, we're stepping into that space with a kind of unified approach.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see people coming together on the Apale platform and then building into, like you said there, the Erasmus Plus KA2 project. So using Apale, and I know eTwinning can be used in this way as well, as a stepping stone into kind of further European projects like Erasmus Plus or the European Solidarity Corps. Both of the platforms are hugely about community as well, but what would you say, I think, makes them each so unique in that community? And Una, I've gone to you a few times here, so Mark, how about we kick off with you this time?
I think a big part of the approach Apale has and what they've changed was, rather than kind of leaving it essentially to the members of the platform, they started running the likes of the podcasts and the newscasts, which was built for everyone to view together. And now we see that each different country are starting to produce their own podcasts, which will fall under the umbrella as well. So they're all kind of contributing that together, but it's very broad community focused. So not just like kind of for specific kind of regions about their work.
And am I correct that on the Apale platform, a lot of those podcasts, those blogs, they're member driven? So the members really have a huge contribution in that.
Yeah, it's a very big part of it. There's also like how we use our ambassadors in that as well, who are members of the kind of adult learning community there, people working within that space then drive content and host events themselves. And then we see the likes of ambassador specific events where they bring ambassadors together from all across Europe. So it's very much driven by the users on there. At the end of the day, our role is to support them.
Great, thanks. And Una, I'm curious to hear about that from the eTwinning side, about that community and how it's unique. And I also know that eTwinning has ambassadors as well, so you might tell us a bit about that.
Yes, we do have ambassadors, and I think they really do kind of share the community nationally, and they promote that. And there's also lots of space for them to do that through the platform as well. We also have kind of ambassador-only events and spaces, and they're marked out on the platform with a little badge, so you know who's an ambassador, who you can go to for help. So like eTwinning is really great because it's such a massive platform. You know, there's like over 40 countries involved, so you have access to this community of people with so many different perspectives and ideas. The scale is really big, and it's very accessible. The community parts are kind of the functions, I suppose, are like things like the groups. So these are kind of spaces where teachers can come together around a specific theme. So maybe if you're interested in well-being or something, you'll find your community there. And then the kind of smaller community spaces are the project twin space, so where you're administering your project and where you're building this community for your specific project with the teachers that you're working with, and then also with your students. They're able to access it. It's very safe, it's very secure, so it's allowing them to build community in this kind of private and secure space.
Great. I think we've heard so much about the benefits, why the platforms are great. So I think, if we could maybe talk about for a moment the misconceptions. Are there any misconceptions you think that kind of members or users come to these platforms with? And and how can you challenge those a little bit? And Mark, I'll start with you here.
There's definitely challenges. There's definitely, and some very simple ones as well, but one of the first things is that people know that they're in the right space. Like, we're very lucky that we get to kind of like collaborate and kind of talk about a few things where I might have someone who's joined the Apale space who would be more suited to the eTwinning. And I think in the name of Apale, the electronic platform for adult learning, sometimes it's thought that it's for learners rather than adult learning professionals. But then the next kind of challenge on it is whether people feel like it's the right place for them, but also, is it going to be a lot of work? that's what, like, it's all like, this is additional, I have to sign up, I have to. And the thing is, it is a choice to join the community, but it's the enrichment that comes from it. It does absolutely take a bit of work to kind of get on there, but it pays off so much. Like I've said, you take bigger steps, you're working with the most relevant people. And sometimes you are looking towards people who are maybe a couple of steps ahead of you in the work that you're doing. But then very often you're also going to be the expert sometimes. You're going to be the one helping other people along. And I think when the work is put in and when you do that, and when you fill in your profile and show yourself, it absolutely enriches the experience.
Great, thanks for that, Mark. And Una, do you have any similar experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I think the extra work, I think that's really what we see. Like, teachers think that e-twinning is going to be a big extra piece of work to learn how to use and then to actually like to create a project. But we always try to tell people to do something that you're already doing in the classroom. You know, like, teachers are already busy enough. So if you have a small piece of work that you're doing, you could make that into an e-twinning project and just add this extra element to it, you know, where the students get to maybe connect with their peers abroad. And it adds something new for them, makes it more exciting, makes it a little bit more fulfilling. We also have lots of ways that we support teachers as well. So if you do think that it is like a little bit hard to use or a little bit difficult to figure out, we have lots of support videos and handbooks, and also we have project kits, and they help you step by step, like how to set up your project, how to find a partner, how to align it to the Irish curriculum as well. So for things like the new MFL curriculum for primary schools and the Beacon Alta policy, we have created kits that show you how you can use e-twinning to fulfill those things you're already doing in the curriculum anyway.
Yeah, and I believe I've seen these kits, Una. I've spoken about them before, and they really are. They're step by step. They're just all structured, so the teachers can kind of plug them right in to that curriculum area that they need. So that's really fantastic. Well, great. I'll move on to our final question here, which is just that for those thinking, you know, how could this be helpful? How could this be beneficial for me? You know, what is one success story that each of you might share? And I'll go to Apale.
It's quite funny because we find while we're working purely with like adult learning professionals, and given that their job is to teach people to learn new tools that will benefit them, they can be quite resistant to it. And more recently, we've been looking at one of our thematic focuses on Apale. Each year we're given 3. One of them was artificial intelligence. So starting from the very basics in that with them, we've run some workshops on that, and we've given presentations on it. And it's actually kind of great when someone comes back afterwards who would be quite resistant to it and is now working with it to generate lesson plans. So it's really nice to see when the educators become the learners and allow themselves the space to say, this is something I want to learn about. And by doing this, it's going to benefit my learners.
So I think drawing on something that Mark mentioned earlier, these platforms are a really nice way for teachers to share practice and to learn from each other, and also to share things that we're doing here in Ireland as well. And one example is an Irish teacher who went to one of our e-twinning professional development workshops, which are opportunities to learn about maybe a particular theme. This one was about well-being and also to find partners. And there she wrote in her final report to us that she was really surprised when she went that she actually had so much to teach others and to share with them. She thought she was going to go and just have loads of stuff to take back, which she had also. But I think the really valuable thing was she saw the value of the network and the value of sharing practice across countries, like how much we have to offer. And it really gave her a sense of confidence and a sense of fulfillment of her own like professional learning and development.
Yeah, I think these experiences, you know, as much as we go to gain knowledge and gain insight from others, it is that sharing of experience, and that's what makes it so enriching as well. So that's fantastic to hear. All right, everyone, we're going to close this panel. I'm very excited to welcome our Support and Development Officer, Vasiliki, who will share with us some of the inclusion supports through the Erasmus Plus and ESC programs. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Myrna Shea from the Léargas Communications team. Communicating your project is an important part of your Erasmus Plus or European Solidarity Corps journey. When you receive funding, part of your agreement is to share your project results and acknowledge EU support. While this is a requirement, it's also a chance to show impact, build connections, and reach wider audiences. Some of you may know our project management days, where we introduced the Léargas Communications Pack, a resource with guides, templates, and tools for things like using brand guidelines, tracking your communications activity, and drafting press releases. I'll touch on these supports briefly, but today our main focus is on real examples of how organisations have communicated their projects in creative and effective ways, often by giving participants a voice to share their own experiences. Here's the communications pack. One useful tool included in the communications pack is the Activity and Impact Tracker. This is a spreadsheet that you can download and edit to help you keep track of your communications activities and results. You can have a look at our fictional case studies to see how this tool could be used in practice. I'm now excited to get into some of the creative and effective ways we've seen programme participants communicate about their projects, learnings and experiences in Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps. The first is through storytelling. Stories bring your project to life, especially when you highlight the voices of your participants. For example, Galway Simon Community produced video interviews with the European Solidarity Corps volunteers that focused on the personal development of the individual volunteers.
I heard about the European Solidarity Corps over the internet. So I read about possibilities to go abroad because when I finished my degrees in social work, I really wanted to go abroad. So I looked up my organization VIA and I found their project and I found the Simon Community. And this is how I heard about it, yeah.
I was searching for a project abroad, for a possibility to work, but even to learn more professional skills, even growth, and learn something new about culture. So I found this project with Galway Simon Community, and it was the perfect project because I could even improve my English.
They showed how you can highlight multiple perspectives in one project. Instead of focusing on just one story, they showed the wider impact on several young people. Other examples you might have seen us show before include learners doing video diaries of their mobilities. This is a very personal and authentic way of amplifying your learners' voices. You could also do something a little bit outside the box and try audio storytelling. Middleton College produced this podcast episode, Herblore Across Borders, in which TY students talked about their German exchange. Let's take a listen.
So, Isaac, can you tell us a little bit about this project, please?
Yes, of course. Herblore Across Borders is an EU co-funded horticultural project which aims to connect schools across the European Union through a shared interest of nature, botany and design.
These kinds of stories are powerful because they put faces and voices to your project results. Stories are the foundation of communicating your project, but adding visuals can make them more engaging and more memorable. Let's take a look at the web page for the Digital Upbringing Project, a KA2 project that included Meath Partnership. It's colourful and fun while still being clear, and it includes all the relevant partner and EU logos. Another creative approach we've seen was from Jigsaw, who transformed their final report into an engaging graphic summary, making it much easier to share key results with stakeholders. Communicating your project is also about reaching the right audience. If, like Jigsaw, you want to share your work with key stakeholders, newsletters or email communication might be useful methods to get your message and story out there. But if you're working in education and training, maybe sharing your story on a platform like Apale or eTwinning would suit you, where you can engage directly with your peers. Every organisation is different, every project is different, and so every audience is different. Take the time to plan how to best communicate your project and what methods best suit your needs. So, as we've seen, there are many ways to share your Erasmus Plus or European Solidarity Corps story. Participant-led video storytelling, like Galway Simon Community's video, gives an authentic first-person view. Audio storytelling, like Middleton College's podcast, lets participants share their experiences in a conversational and creative way. and visual storytelling, like Jigsaw's graphic summary or Digital Upbringing's project webpage, makes your results engaging and easy to remember. Each of these approaches turns project results into something that people can connect with, whether that's learners, stakeholders, or the wider community. The key is find the format that works best for your organisation, your participants, and your audience. The communications pack has the tools to support you, and the stories themselves will always come from the people involved.
Hi, my name is Aoife Egan, and I'm the Senior European Initiatives Officer at Léargas and the National Correspondent for YouthWiki in Ireland. So, what is YouthWiki? YouthWiki is an online encyclopedia of youth policies across 34 European countries. Created by the European Commission, its goal is to make youth policy more accessible and to support cooperation by sharing reliable information on national initiatives that affect young people. How does it work? It takes complex policies and explains them in plain English. Each policy area is broken down into easy-to-navigate topics. So who is YouthWiki for? For policymakers, it's a tool to explore what other countries are doing and find inspiration for new policies and reforms. For youth organisations and youth workers, it provides evidence and examples that can strengthen projects, funding applications, or advocacy. It also highlights opportunities and good practices that could benefit the young people you work with. Or if you're a young person wanting to learn more, it makes policy understandable. You can see what's happening in Ireland and across Europe, and how these decisions shape opportunities like education, employment, participation, or volunteering. And for researchers and academics, it's a resource for comparing initiatives and outcomes across Europe. Now, let's look at how the platform is structured. YouthWiki is organised into 10 policy chapters, covering areas like social inclusion, health and wellbeing, participation, and youth work. With interactive maps and country comparisons, it's easy to see different approaches across Europe. Each chapter draws on studies, surveys, and official reports from public authorities, making sure the information is reliable. In short, YouthWiki is about making youth policy easy to access and understand, while giving everyone, from decision makers to young people themselves, the chance to explore and learn from what's happening across Europe. You can explore YouthWiki by visiting the YouthWiki website.
A big thank you again to Mark and Una from Apale and eTwinning, and to our Léargas communications team for sharing valuable insights into how you can communicate the impact of your work and connect with partners across Europe. Now, we're going to shift focus and talk about inclusion, which is at the heart of Léargas and our European programs. Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps are built to champion equal opportunities, access, and inclusion across all activities. I'd like to welcome my colleague Vasiliki, our Support and Development Officer at Léargas, who will be sharing her insights on what inclusion supports are available and how you can embed inclusion into your project activities. Welcome, Vasiliki.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you very much for the introduction. Very happy to be here.
I'm going to start off with our first question, which is, how would you describe inclusion and why is it important in European programs like Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps?
Well, I think I would like to start with one prompt which is included in the inclusion and diversity strategy of the program. Which says that the program would like to ensure that no one is left behind. So I think that really summarizes the values of the program and the intentions behind this. So really inclusion is all about ensuring that the program, everyone actually has equal access and equal participation within the opportunities that they are available, either in Erasmus Plus on the European Solidarity Course program. And also the program recognizes inclusion as one of the main horizontal priorities, which really means that there is like a spotlight on that. And also on the practical side of it, it also means that there are financial mechanisms to support the people to participate, and also, as I mentioned earlier, to support this equal access and equal participation in the opportunities available.
So both of the programs, they have financial mechanisms, they have kind of built-in supports and a strategy in place. And clearly, they've made it a priority. They've made it one of the horizontal priorities, as you mentioned. It might be helpful to give the audience an idea of, what are some of those barriers that people face that they can then avail of supports for? So could you give us, a little bit of an example of what might prevent people from taking part in the programs? What are some of those barriers that we have supports for?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, the inclusion has been one of the main priorities, and to also make it more concrete, the program has also identified some of the barriers to also help people to target the groups, or bring awareness of the groups that we are working with, they are one of those people that they are being recognized and supported by the program. So some of the barriers that have been recognized within the program is barriers related to education and training, economical barriers, geographical barriers, barriers linked to discrimination, cultural differences, and disabilities and health problems.
Okay. And what would be some of the, what are some of the supports available to help organizations include people who might face some of those challenges?
So I think I will keep it two main support systems. Okay, the practical, the financial aspect, but also the shift in the culture of how we manage the program, or the supports that the organizations or the national agencies can offer. So on the practical aspect, on the financial mechanisms, there is a component which is within the budget structure, which is called inclusion supports.
Okay.
So there is two types of inclusion supports for organizations and inclusion supports for participants. So the inclusion supports for organizations, it's more about providing additional financial support to increase the capacity of organizations. And the inclusion supports for participants, they really respond to specific needs, real costs that participants might need to access the mobility, to access the travel and everything that this involves. Now, some of those examples of eligible costs can be priority seats, travel assistance for persons with disabilities, specialized accompanying persons. Say you might travel with a group, and that public transportation might be accessible or appropriate from their group. So you can apply for additional funding to have accessible transportation, an accessible van, for example, that they can pick you up from the airport and then they can transfer you to the venue of the mobility. So that can be one example. I mentioned earlier in the examples also about the purchase of necessary goods. So there has been in the past many groups of young people that they might have to go to a youth exchange or to travel to visit a school, students who visit a school, say in Finland, or Northern European countries, that you need heavy jackets, that you need more warm clothes, or even the fact that you need to travel, you need a luggage, a suitcase. So it's not everyone has access to these things, and they have these things in their home. So the organizations can have an idea of a summary of an approximate amount of how much this will cost for all the people, and they can apply for this amount to get the money, and also help the people to purchase these goods.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And so it takes into account the needs of the individuals organizations are working with, as well as the needs of the project, it seems, because not every project will be going to Finland and need a warm jacket. They might not be cold. It could be opposite. So there's a lot of support in that. And then you had mentioned that there were two components, right? So there was the financial mechanisms, which we just kind of covered, and then then you said that there were other ways that organizations could include supports kind of embedded in their projects. So could you share a little bit about that? What can organizations do to make the projects themselves more inclusive?
Absolutely. Actually, what I was referring to is how the program and the inclusion diversity really encourages both the organizations, but like the organizations behind the program, like us, the national agencies, to have a supportive approach in how they engage with the program. So what does this mean? Like a supportive approach, it can be like a one-to-one approach of like you are someone who organizing something, you have a question, you can contact the national agency who manage the program, and you can ask this and you can get like direct support specifically on your needs. There is also resources and tools that they are being developed by the European Commission resource centers, which specifically tackle those needs, and organization can access them so they can be informed, they can be not trained specifically, but they can gain more skills, so they can start increasing awareness about what is inclusion, and then coming from the awareness stage to like, okay, we have actually a concrete approach, we bring this into action.
Thanks for that, Vasiliki. And then the next question here I have are what are some of the ways that Léargas embeds inclusion across its programs specifically? You mentioned that supportive approach, which is between Léargas and the organizations as well, right? But what are the ways that we as an organization have inclusion across all areas of our activity?
Well, Léargas really recognizes inclusion and engages with this both in a strategic and in operational approach. So very recently we launched our new strategic statement for the period from 2025 to 2030, and inclusion is one of the pillars of the strategic statement, and there is like specific actions and timelines of how these actions can be reached. And what does this really mean, like on a strategic approach, is that like the value of inclusion is like is recognized, is there, and is being taken into consideration. Like we as an organization, yes, we see this priority in the program. We want to put it into action to also like fit in our national reality. Mentioned like a few times, like during conversation, the inclusion and diversity strategy of the program. However, like on a national level, there are like strategies on different sectors that they are targeting inclusion, they're targeting specific target groups. So most of our activities, they're trying to link both into the program, into the Europe priorities, but also to the national priorities. So what does this mean? I'll give you an example. So we have like an ongoing program of activities, of the information sessions that we do on an ongoing basis, of the application clinics that we do on an ongoing basis, training sessions that we also have like in our work plan. But some of those, actually most of those, they're also linked with the national priorities. So there might be like the general information sessions, but there might be also targeted information sessions, which they will link with target groups, like for example, the schools, which is, here's the national priority, or newcomers, coming back to the priority of the program. And it can be like in a specific geographic area that is not being represented or hasn't been very well represented within the previous deadlines.
Great, thanks for that overview. And I think that gives a really good great examples of how people who are applying to Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps can look for the financial mechanisms for the needs of their participants, their organization, their learners, but also how they can use, the staff at Léargas, some of our information sessions and events to give them further ideas and supports on that. But then there's another element which is, once a project has been accepted and a project might be in action, or maybe you're a long-term beneficiary and you haven't needed to avail of any of the financial inclusion supports, how can beneficiaries then still bring inclusion into their project?
Well, I think it's good to start, like for newcomers, but like more experienced organizations, they will notice that like a project is not only the mobility itself, it has like many stages. It has the development of the idea, there is the preparation, there is the actual activity, the mobility, traveling to the place where the activity takes place, and also the evaluation, the reporting, next steps. So I think looking at the bigger picture, it will be like an organization will need to like approach like every different stage with empathy and awareness towards inclusion, and what this can mean that the participants and the target groups are being included like across all the processes, so the voices can be heard, so they can have their needs also are being raised, and actually that the project is being an initiation, and it like directly links with the realities. I think I have like many examples that come to my head, like from the youth sector or even like from the school sector, that like okay, when you try to put an idea together, it's good to go back like on a needs analysis of like see what do the young people want to talk about, what is that like really it's relevant to them, what is that they want to like come together with other young people from Europe and like want to discuss and want to do workshops about it, or like maybe on the school sector, what is that like that maybe the teachers need additional support, they need like additional skills, so they can bring him back to their students. It might be that they want to bring new practices in supporting neurodiverse students, or it might be that they want to exchange good practices about how they can engage like multiple languages in their classrooms, and they can do this by going to a study visit or a job shadowing in a different country that they already have these practices in place. So it's coming back to, okay, this is something, there is a need here that really arises either from the group of the young people or from the classroom or like from the general organization. So like looking at this need and see, okay, we have this little seed, for example, how we can like plant it and water it and like bringing into a European dimension.
And I think the final question we have, are there any useful supports or resources, facility, to help organizations create more inclusive environments? Can you mention anything, a specific resource that might aid someone?
Yes, I think you mentioned very briefly earlier that, it's the program, if you want to see it like as a bigger, I don't know, I like to imagine like a circle or a cake that has different layers. So it's like
let's go with the cake.
Let's go with the cake. The European Commission that has the program, that has the structure, then it has the national agencies that like we manage the funding. But there is like an additional layer in the cake, which are the resource centers. Too many S here. And C's. So these are like organizations, specific like organizations that their goal, their work basically is to create resources for people to use them and create more quality programs. So one of the resource centers, it is called like SALTO, Inclusion and Diversity, and they have created specifically tools and publications to tackle specific themes related to inclusion. So two of those that come in mind, because I've used them a lot in the past and I've passed them to beneficiaries a lot, is the inclusion meter, which basically it is kind of like a checklist or a tool that really identifies all the stages of the project that you want to do. As we said earlier, that like there's different stages. So it really highlights every stage. And then under this stage, it has like different like categories or different things that you need to think about in advance to make your project or your activity more inclusive. So this is like what an inclusion meter is, like a checklist or a tool that like brings a lot of themes of like, oh, did you ask every individual for the needs? Make sure that your venue is accessible by public transport. If it's not available by public transport, what are you going to do with this? About this, make sure that maybe if your event is very big, is many hours, it will take like for many hours, maybe you need to have an extra breakout room, that it's going to be the quiet room that people can go and take a break. So it really gives like examples that helps, especially like newcomers, or even like more experienced people to kind of like have a more concrete examples about what to look at, about what to check when they want to organize an activity. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how that would be really helpful for some members of the audience, those who are existing beneficiaries. So it acts like a checklist, but then it kind of prompts you to think about, oh, have you thought of this?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, we'll be sharing that later in the final pack that will go to everyone that's here today. And you mentioned there were some other tools as well, is that right?
So similar to the inclusion meter, there's also like another resource, again, made by SALTO Inclusion and Diversity, which is how to organize an inclusive event. And again, it considers like all the different aspects and all the different stages of an event, and it prompts and it gives like examples about what you can do. I think also, because like you mentioned that like not only it's a checklist, but it prompts what we can do, it's good to, that's a tip, it's good that like these meters can be not only be used as like checklists to organize, but also that can be used and then at the final report stage to also say, oh yeah, we actually did this and this and this. So I think it kind of like helps to really develop the language and communicate what are the inclusion practices that like organizations like do in their projects. Because I've seen this a lot in the past, like through my experience, that like on one-to-one calls, like I can hear like all the things that like organizations have done and all the efforts that they have put to make their project more inclusive. But then in writing, for example, in a final report stage, this doesn't reflect that much. So like sometimes we do things and we really take it for granted. So I think this type of tools really, by prompting and like outlining everything, maybe not everything is relevant to your project, but like by outlining everything, it also helps to kind of like build the language and also communicate what was the good practices, either with through your final report for your national agency, or if you like to create a newsletter or a social media post, that you can use like these things to communicate. You can use like this specific language, these prompts to communicate what was like the practices that you use to make your activity more inclusive.
And I think thanks Vasiliki for that. That's really a perfect point for us to wrap up. A lot of this panel today has been focused on communication, collaboration, and inclusion. And we even see within those inclusion supports, there are elements, there are ways that you can continue to communicate your project, particularly the impact of it and what you've achieved. So thank you so much for that. We're going to close out this breakout session, and I'd just like to remind everyone today that we will be submitting, preparing a final pack for you, which you can access some of these supports that Vasiliki has mentioned. Mark and Una from eTwinning and Apale, as well as the comms team, will have everything ready for you post-event. Thanks very much. Welcome back from your breakout rooms. Whether you're a newcomer to European programs or a seasoned participant, we hope you gained some insights and inspiration from Léargas staff and program participants. We come to the final section of today's event, our closing panel. I'm delighted to be joined by our Head of Programs at Léargas, Deirdre Finlay, our Head of Education and Training, Celine Martin, our Head of Youth, Sport and European Solidarity Corps. Speaking beside them today, we have Brita Lillis, Deputy Principal at Blackrock Further Education Institute and participant in Erasmus Plus Vet, and Jodie Byrne, Information Officer at Ballyfermot Youth Service, a beneficiary of Erasmus Plus Youth. Excitingly, we also have with us today Sheena Duffy, Head of International Equality, Diversity, Inclusion and Communications at the Higher Education Authority, the National Agency for Erasmus Higher Ed. Accompanying Sheena is Brendan Teig, Director of International Partnerships and Mobility of Maynooth University. By bringing together Léargas and Higher Education Authority voices in the same discussion, we get to see the full scope of Erasmus' impact in Ireland and how coordination across sectors strengthens our national and European contribution. In this panel, we'll be exploring how Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps support organizations to move from short-term projects to long-term transformation. We'll look at practical pathways like accreditation, partnership projects. We'll hear from panelists about how these opportunities connect their organization's strategic goals and create lasting change. Deirdre, I'll start with you. From your perspective in education and training, why are pathways like Erasmus Plus accreditation and long-term partnerships so important for organizations? What kind of change do you think they enable?
Okay, well, from the perspective of schools across Ireland, colleges of further education, or community organisations at local level that are delivering learning opportunities, having a strategic approach to Erasmus is so important. It offers a lot of simplicity and an easy access point. So, for example, if a teacher in a school has been tasked with taking on the coordination of Erasmus Plus projects, if they're able to secure what's called accreditation, the long-term partnership approach, it means that they have one application, much shorter one to do every year. And this means they can plan long-term. And they can plan around things that are very important to the school that have been based on needs, such as CPD, perhaps language learning, or whatever the themes are that the school wishes to address through Erasmus+. So I think it brings strategic opportunities that way. There also are the partnership projects, Key Action 2, and they can bring so much in terms of institutional development for that school or their own organisation. They also bring multidisciplinary opportunities where different types of organisations can learn from each other over a longer period.
Great, and I know we're talking a lot about partnership projects and accreditation, and some of our viewers might not be familiar with that. It's just a reminder that we will absolutely be sharing that in our event pack later. Thanks for that, Dee. And to follow up there, so what about organizations who are starting with smaller projects? What kind of supports or stepping stones are in place to help them grow into those accreditation or the partnership projects?
Well, yeah, every year at Léargas as a national agency, we really take it seriously to try and bring new types of organisations into the programme. So, for example, we have schools, we have colleges of further education, we have small adult education organisations, but we're also attracting community training centres, youth reach organisations. So every year, I suppose what we're trying to do is to open up the pathways a number of different ways. One of the easiest ways to get started is to take a look at the European Commission's platforms, or websites, I suppose you would call them, especially designed for partnership development. So that could be the eTwinning space, it could be Apale for adult educators. And in there, those interested in Erasmus Plus can find partners or just read content that stimulates them and inspires them to get involved in European work.
Right, yeah, and those in some of the breakout rooms earlier would have heard about eTwinning and Apale as these kind of network and communication platforms. So we kind of have that information already. Thanks for that. And Brita, I'm on to you now. So Blackrock Further Education Institute is already an accredited organization. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got there? Where did you start with European programs and how did you move into that long-term funding?
So we started our Erasmus journey back in 2017 when one of our staff attended a Connect event that was organised by Léargas, the national agency. And she returned to the college very excited about the opportunities to send some of her students on a work experience placement. So we attended a workshop for the application, also hosted by Léargas, and we made our first application. So we sent 6 students in 2018. That's where we started that. Project was so successful that the following year we sent more students and we did our first staff mobility. So we were doing ad hoc one-stop projects until we received accreditation in 2022. And I would say that was really a game changer for us in terms of us being able to have a more focused strategic approach and sort of join up all the dots. So we've been accredited since 2022 and we've grown steadily. Last year we sent 80 participants under accreditation.
Wow, and actually my next question for you there was how did this opportunity help you align with the Institute's goals? So was the idea to see growth there, and did it happen in any other ways?
So we're part of the Dublin Dún Laoghaire Education Training Board, and they have strategic goals around learners, staff, organisation and stakeholders. And I would say that being involved in Erasmus Plus actually helps to achieve all of those objectives. Particularly if we look at the learners, it's all about high quality teaching and learning experiences, and I really don't think there's any better quality experience for our learners than sending them on a work experience placement abroad. Not only does it help develop their vocational skills, but also it helps develop them very important soft skills. So it's been really, really important from that perspective. And for our staff, the goals are around CPD opportunities and networking. And as a result of Erasmus Plus, not only are we networking better within our own ETB with our sister colleges, we're also networking with other ETBs who are doing Erasmus Plus in Ireland. And obviously we're building up a cohort of European partners. So it's been very, very important for us in terms of achieving strategic goals.
Absolutely. And I love that you touched on a theme that we've been seeing come up throughout this event, which is skills development. And you mentioned the soft skills there. And we've been saying today, we think of them as soft skills, but they're not. They're essential skills. And that's becoming more and more apparent and how important it is to develop those further. Thanks for that, Brita. And I think I'd like to ask as well, what kind of challenges did you face in moving from short-term to long-term, if any?
So I suppose we started ad hoc with little individual projects. So over time, we had to build up a coherent structure. We had to develop, internal processes around communication, coordination, using IT to support so that we were delivering good quality placements. I'm fortunate in the college that we have started with a very small dedicated team. We've grown, I suppose, slowly over time, which has helped us, and then we've put a lot of supports in. Obviously, the national agency has been hugely important to us, and networking with other colleges who are already doing Erasmus, they've been a huge support to us over time.
Thanks for that, Brita. Celine, I'm going to shift to you. So I know Dee explained a lot already about accreditation and partnership projects, but could you share with us, what those pathways are specifically in the youth sector?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, very similar to education and training really for the youth and I suppose some of our voluntary organisations for the ESC. There are 2 types of accreditation really. So the youth specific one and then quality label for other community organisations who wish to support volunteers. I suppose in terms of bringing to youth services in particular, it brings a lot of stability to the youth services. It allows them to develop their programmes, their projects for young people so that young people see into the future new opportunities to travel, to build relationships, to have intercultural experience, to meet other young people from other cultures and to really just share learning. But from the youth organisations perspective, it allows, I suppose, young people to see that there's a huge commitment to long-term strategic goals within the youth service. So commitment from youth workers and commitment from the organisations, many of them which are voluntary, as you know, to ensure that all young people can have that opportunity to have an international and a European experience. So I suppose something else that comes to mind in terms of the youth workers themselves, it allows significant growth for professional development where they can attend trainings here through our training and cooperation activities, but also internationally where they can travel abroad and meet other youth workers so that they can then experience, I suppose, different learning and development around youth work, but also so they can share their own experience. And also it reaffirms for them, I suppose, that actually they are doing an amazing job and a wonderful job, and that Erasmus Plus and ESE can really support them as well in that work.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's so much in that. I think I really liked the point you made about youth engagement and how for organizations, like it's key to engaging young people, keeping them coming back, having, you know, multiple experiences for them to avail of. And that's, I think, what having that accreditation can really help them do, it seems. But Jody, you will be able to give us insight here. So you're from Ballyfermot Youth Service and an accredited organisation. I believe you participated in a number of Erasmus Plus programs. So could you just tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you moved into the longer term funding?
Okay, yeah. I started with going back 20 years ago when we were a small little team in Ballyfermot building up our youth service. Came across just online, national agency, Léargas, reading into European goals and anything we could try grasp a hand on, you know, that would bring us, you know, a little bit from our community and strive with young people. So we found the Léargas National Agency and went along to a local meeting, and they gave us insight into everything that can happen for youth within the European Erasmus Plus programme. So scooted back home on the train, we're just overwhelmed by the amount of things we could have happen for our young people within our community. Put our heads together, started writing, started learning, started studying all the different aspects of it. And now, 20 years on, we're an accredited programme. We have a quality label. We have all the different strands of Erasmus Plus engaged with all our young people. So we have like youth participation projects. We have our volunteers from the European Solidarity Corps programme. We have many, really big part of the branch is youth exchanges for under 18s. So it's quite embedded within our community, within the after schools programme, all the way up around youth exchanges and all the opportunities that's available there for them. Obviously Ballyfermot is a disadvantaged community, so you know our young people are targeted young people, the young people with fewer opportunities. So to really, you know, individually give each person an opportunity to see outside their own community and to develop their own mindsets into bigger and better opportunities for themselves. It's just so amazing. So we love it and we're devoted to it, and huge support from our national agencies as well, yeah.
I mean, it's very impressive, the number of strands of Erasmus that you're participating in. It's immense, and I think I love hearing that you started off actually feeling a little overwhelmed, going to an event to gain more information. And I think that's something we can encourage our audience who are looking at this today and feeling like, where do I start? Start with an event, start by contacting the team and build from there. You know, and you say it was, you know, 20 years to start participating in that level of engagement with the program. That's fantastic. Do you have any advice for anyone starting new?
Yeah, just read, check out the information. There's amazing support staff within our national agency, and even on European-wide, you know, the new partners. You know, there's experienced partners. There's new partners coming in. I'm meeting new partners next week, just to give them advice on their European Solidarity Corps adventure that are going to go down, and how to, you know, be relaxed about it and just, you know, help them and guide them along.
That's great. And I'll just ask one final question there, Jody. So what would you say is the biggest impact you've seen on your organisation's engagement with young people through this programme?
Well, the programme is embedded in our community from our organisation. So we're quite well established. Everything is around what happens within European policies and our actual strategic plan and our goals is all embedded around European policies and our national agencies and all the different brands and branches that we can get our hands into for the betterment of all the young people.
Fantastic. This brings me to the higher education sector at this point, Sheena and Brendan. So I'm curious to hear from you both. Sheena, has what you heard here kind of reflected the higher education so far? And could you kind of give us some insight there?
Yeah, absolutely. So our institutions have started participating in Erasmus from 1987 from very small numbers. We now have over 5,000 annually participating in mobilities. So it's a huge part of institutions' international strategies. They set targets around mobility. Obviously, incoming mobility is a huge part of what they do as well. So it brings internationalization to those students who aren't mobile. They have availed of all of the new parts of the program, such as blended intensive programs, short mobility programs. So they're really using, all aspects of the program to engage and to give opportunities to students. And certainly we see students coming back with, and we've mentioned the soft skills, which are essential, but also, values and cultures that they just wouldn't have. So it's been a huge opportunity for institutions. And I suppose I also want to talk about one of the huge opportunities for institutions for long-term strategic development in the European University alliances. So Ireland is in a unique position that all of our universities are members of these alliances, which are partnerships across many countries of institutions that are coming together to look at global challenges with targets of 50% mobility. So these are huge, ambitious projects, and we're delighted that our institutions see the value in this and are participating so strongly. Just finally, I'll add one of the things that we've been working with our institutions in, and it's been touched on, is the whole area of fewer opportunities. And we've been working with institutions to try and target funding to go to students who need additional supports. So we've seen a huge increase in numbers there as well. So now 29% of our students are from fewer opportunities and getting the opportunity to avail of mobility placement. And we'll work to increase that participation rate.
That's fantastic to hear. And I know, so even though different sectors, it is, the program itself, which embeds, like you said, values. They have key priorities, inclusion being one of those. So at Léargas, we also have, a target to reach individuals with fewer opportunities. It's very important for us and embedded throughout the youth and the education training sector at Léargas. Brendan, I'm going to bring this to you now, actually, and ask, what you've heard today. Does that also reflect your experience of Erasmus at Maynooth University?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to hear about different organisations engaging with the programme and kind of starting small and building on that. And I would say that in the higher education sector, and certainly in Maynooth, we are doing something similar. So we have a very ambitious internationalisation strategy, and that is, I suppose, built on primarily student mobility, but it's also working with different organisations either through the alliances or through collaborating in KA2 partnerships on VET and so on, and how higher education and different sectors can work together. The alliances have really, I think, reinvigorated and deepened engagement for universities in the programme. So it's now no longer just about the student piece. It's also about those projects. It's also about the excellency of Jean Monnet or the Erasmus Mundus joint master's degrees, and having those partners that we can work with in Europe and then abroad is really, really useful to us as an organisation as we try to offer all students an opportunity to go abroad. So as Sheena touched on there with regards to inclusion, the programme has innovated and offers blended opportunities so that we can reach different populations of students who may not have undertaken a mobility prior to that. We've been able to offer opportunities to staff and so on. And it's also given us the tools to professionalise further with digitalisation and so on. So really the programme offers a whole suite of opportunities, and it's up to organisations which they want to kind of engage with the most. And I couldn't agree more with everyone else. It's you get what you give, or what you put in, I should say.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brendan. I think I'll just address this question to everyone here on the panel today. So looking at the big picture, how do you see Erasmus Plus contributing to stronger, more resilient communities through these kinds of strategic projects and programs?
I'll kind of come in. So something that I didn't mention earlier was kind of the opportunities in a smaller way. So in terms of that community level, I suppose within the youth and the European Solidarity Corps, we have these opportunities around young people connecting at community level and building on a small solidarity project. So that starts at the very heart of your own community and doesn't have to be a huge scale, big partnership. The same for youth participation. It starts in a small youth service, giving a voice to young people and having a say in their youth service and how it develops. But bring that on to a European level, and then young people and the programmes continue to allow for a voice for young people to be included. That's across all the sectors. So in terms of the youth dialogue, meeting at a European level with commissioners and so on, so that their voice is heard, so that I suppose we embrace the idea of democracy and inclusion at the very outset, right through all of the programmes that are offered, so young people feel that their democratic voice is of value, is important, and it can help to build a more resilient community and I suppose world into the future. So that's what I think it enables, right from the grassroots all the way through to much bigger important spaces, and young people feel their voice can be heard in that way.
It's pretty important, you know, young people's voices and that
Absolutely, and just adding on to that, like, I mean, the impact of it for young people and on young people, you just can't describe it. You cannot describe the individual or the group or what happens in the community, because it just prolongs and it stays there and it stays within your community. Amazing opportunities for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dee, did you, or Breda, would you like to speak on that from the education training side?
I think it's really building on what you've said, Jodie and Celine, which is that building resilient communities is such a challenge. It's such an undertaking, but we do have some evidence. We do know that Erasmus Plus at the individual level is transformative, as you've said. It just is transformational for an individual, and it builds their intercultural competence. And so once people have had those exposures and those opportunities to other cultures, it can build so much tolerance and a shared sense of understanding. And I think that we know that these are the kind of skills that are required in not just the workplace, but in society nowadays. This is these 21st century skills nearly that we're trying to foster. So I think Erasmus Plus can certainly contribute to that.
I would say in our experience, the funding is very generous for participants, so the inclusion piece is very important. There's no student who hasn't the opportunity because of how well it's funded. So if we see in the college that we are targeting those students that are a little bit more disadvantaged and they have an equal opportunity to participate because of the generous, fully funded, it doesn't cost students anything. Everything is covered for them. That's hugely supportive for them. So from us, it's ticking a lot of those boxes, those inclusion boxes for us.
Absolutely. And Brendan or Sheena, do you have anything to add there?
I suppose just the impact of Erasmus Plus, it just can't be underestimated. I mean, it's the most important education programme in Europe, but it's one of the most important European programmes, full stop. And the impact it has on individuals just cannot be understated. They as Deirdre said, they really come back transformed. They really feel part of Europe and have been, exposed to different cultures and European values. And when we look at our world today, that's really, really important that students feel part of a value system. So I just can't say enough about the impact.
Yeah, and I love that, we have the two agencies and our, beneficiaries sitting with us today. Really kind of demonstrating the scope of the program. All sectors here are represented. It goes back to, anyone can participate in these programs. We want to reach as many people as possible. And it really is, a chance for people to learn at every age and every stage of life and every sector. And just like that, we've come to the end of another Léargas gathering. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving with fresh ideas and renewed sense of what's possible through European programs. We'll be following up with an email after the event packed with useful resources to help you get started or take your next steps on your European program journey. We'll also include details of upcoming events where you can connect with our team and continue building your network. Thank you for staying with us right to the end, and we look forward to seeing you again next year.